1 million rand, which was paid out in 2 separate transactions. Karim was accused of withholding information from the commission. However, his lawyer, Rafik Bana, disagrees.
It's unfair for you to make the judgment now that he chose to hold back documents when his attention wasn't directed to that. These are transactions that go back several years. This is a witness who deals in companies that have many transactions. So the premise to say he had a duty, even though there's no mention of Tasmika there, to deal with Tasmika, and the fact that he doesn't, that you can put to me that he chose to hold this back is simply incorrect.
The Commission has resolved not to ask Karim about these new revelations until he has been briefed by his lawyers. Thabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
The IEC has raised concerns about the spread of disinformation on electoral issues fueled by the rise of artificial intelligence. The Commission says it has noted a number of fake news posts circulating online, some of which appear to have been AI generated. At a media briefing focusing on preparations for the upcoming local government elections today, the IEC warned voters about this issue. IEC Chief Electoral Officer Simon Mabulo has urged voters to be cautious about the information they consume.
We do anticipate that the growth of generative AI will create a fertile ground for increased disinformation attempts.
He says the Commission is working to ensure this issue is addressed.
We are building our own internal capacity for social media responses. But one of the key strategies is that give people who live on, or rather who communicate via social media, credible information upfront and limit the scope for disinformation.
And major Japanese publisher Shogakukan has issued an apology after being caught in hot water for rehiring an author convicted of sexual assault. In 2020, manga author who went by the pen name Soichi Yamamoto was arrested for violating the Child Pornography Act. The woman filed a civil suit in 2022 and the local district court ordered Yamamoto to pay more than $70,000 in damages last month. The publisher says it will launch a third-party committee to investigate this matter. Well, gold is trading at $5,183.49 an ounce. The rand is at 16.27 to the dollar, 21.93 to the pound, 18.95 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $98.96 a barrel.
Leaving Germiston heading towards Brakpan, roadworks are still causing about a 20-minute delay. This is in the Boksburg-Sunwood Park area, N17 eastbound between Osborne and Carnival City. There's also bumper traffic in the Pinoni-Boksburg area on Atlas Road approaching North Rand Road.
In your sport, Mamelodi Sundowns looking to return to the summit of the Betway Premiership standings with a win over Orbit College. Eddie Howe urges Newcastle to create history against Barcelona. And Eliud Kipchoge to race the 2026 Cape Town Marathon.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 24 and 27 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. 2 firefighters have been injured during an operation to fight a blaze at an auto spares store in Edenvale.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
.702 Drive with John Perlman is proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here. Good afternoon, everyone. It's 9 minutes past 3 on Tuesday, the 10th of March. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman. Wherever you are listening to us in 702 land, welcome to the show. If the crisis in and around Iran continues, could we find ourselves faced with fuel rationing? Not beyond the realms of possibility, says Peter Morgan, CEO of the Liquid Fuels Wholesalers Association. He's my guest after 5. In other stories, you'd be hard-pressed to find a calmer, more respectful public figure than Justice Mboyiseli Madlanga. But earlier today, at the commission that bears his name, Justice Madlanga got angry, very angry. More on that coming up with EWN's Tabiso Goba, as well as his overview of the proceedings today. GDP numbers released today looked pretty good, better than a year ago at least, but how much comfort can we take from the data when our problems like unemployment remain as overwhelming as they are? Economist Tanti Pai will share his thoughts in a moment. And if you use an AI tool, ChatGPT for instance, to solve a problem, could you sue the creators of that tool if the advice they give puts you in harm's way? Quite a number of litigants all around the world are actually going to the courts to find out if they actually have a case. Legal expert Dario Milo joins us with his thoughts after 5 o'clock. On the markets today, a big, serious, substantial bounce back. The All Shares up today by around 2,260 points. That's a gain of 1.94%. The industrial index is leading the way, up by nearly 3%, and that's due to big gains for Naspers, up 7%, and for sister company Prosus, up by 7.6%. I'm so sure, as you probably know, Naspers and Prosus make up a huge percentage of the exchange itself. So big gains for them, big gains for the index, for the All Share as a whole. On the downside, Thungela has given back some of its gains today, weaker by 6.8%. Karoo down by 5%. The oil price still high, not quite as nerve-wrackingly so as yesterday. Brent crude currently trading at around $93.40 a barrel. That's up over the last few hours by around $5, but almost $10 down when we spoke around this time yesterday. Rand doing better today as well. Currency trading at 16 Rand 33 against the dollar. That's 40 cents stronger than it was 24 hours ago. A euro will cost you 18 Rand 97, stronger by 37 cents. 21 Rand 94 will get you a pound. That's also a 40-cent gain for the rand. Stephen Curtis has the very latest news from the markets. He's with us at 4:25. Sport with Tolakele Mganga and Bali Dlamini. You heard her a moment ago, back with the latest news headlines at 3:30. We've got Karabo Chali keeping an eye on the roads as he does every day. This is 702 Drive. We're live in the place where you live. If it's happening in 702 land, you'll hear about it here as soon as we can bring it to you. First, we hope, but there are some things that you know about or have seen or have heard about that perhaps we haven't yet picked up. So do get in touch on 072 702 1702. And of course, there are things that we talk about, have opinions about that you fundamentally disagree with. If you do, you can always give us a call on 011 883 0702 072 702 1702. This is 702 Drive. It's 13 minutes past 3.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
Plenty to talk about, plenty of things to ask questions about, and lots of things just to discuss because they happen to be interesting, including some things that may be somewhat random. I don't know if just being online and looking for interesting things the way I do at the start of every day with the show in mind is totally random, but I must admit I wasn't expecting to be reading about this. The study is something that has been put together. Let me just give the proper credit. The National Academy of Sciences of the United States of America. No, I don't invariably dip into the things they do. It is one of the world's most prestigious scientific journals, but I couldn't miss this. They've come up with a study that shows that if you have toxic people in your life, you will age faster. Now, I know that toxic people in your life can lead to all sorts of other consequences. You might be stressed. You might snap at the nice people in your life. You can be thrown off your game in all sorts of ways. Maybe your career is affected if one of those toxic people happens to be a colleague or a boss or a line manager of some kind. It can affect family life. However, having a toxic person in the social network can accelerate your aging by 0.5%. So that doesn't sound like a huge amount. It doesn't sound very nice either. So what I want to know from you is, does that make sense to you? Do you feel that toxic people in your life are actually wearing you down? And you may not associate it with, this is going to make me age quicker and possibly die younger. But maybe that thought has occurred to you. On a more positive note, if you have had those people in your life, how have you got rid of them? How have you shaken them off? Either by ending relationships with them or by neutralizing those relationships. So you can't necessarily change. Let's just stay with the workplace analogies of a boss or a colleague. You can't necessarily change them, but you can deny them the kind of bandwidth, the rent-free space they had in your head. So, two-part question. Are toxic people making you older? Can you feel it happening? And secondly, if you found a solution, please share it, because I don't think there's a single person listening to the show today who hasn't been in that position in one way or another in their lives. So let's pool what we know. Let's get the very best ideas and put them on air. Refuwe Letsua, very good afternoon to you. Does that ring a bell for you? Like, this person or these people, they're actually making me age. I'm getting older, even as I hear their car pull up. Karabo Charlie cannot wait to jump in and contribute. Should we give him the floor? No, you first. You go first. Refuwe.
Sure. Good afternoon, John, and to the rest of the 702
He's champing at the bit.
family. That study is true. Toxic people or toxic environments are very, very draining. I think I've got a couple of gray hairs that I don't want to admit, but I'm admitting to that. No, those are a result of toxic people in my life, where you constantly have an internal conversation where you don't want to say these things out loud because you don't want to hurt people, and you're like, oh, let me self-regulate. But you know what I learned as a solution? You will know the truth and it will set you free. I now confront people. I'm like, Karabo, it's you, not me. And I explain the situation as nicely and assertively. I don't even, because it almost sounds like.
Oh, you're unemotional. That sounds like you're very clear and plain.
The facts.
Yeah.
The facts and.
The facts as you see them.
Yes. And one thing I also learned, you can love someone, but you can love them from a distance. So.
Yes.
Just because I love you or care for you, you don't have to access my life. You know what I'm saying? It's fine. Let's keep it there. I'm saying. So I think the truth, John, the truth, sing the truth and it will set you free. Tell them.
Yeah.
Karabo Charlie, 100%. It is your turn now.
Yeah, no, that study is spot on, Dr. John. And I've learned as I'm growing up as an adult to set boundaries as quickly as possible. And it took me time with family, but I find it easier to set boundaries with family because I really love them and I cherish them. And it's better if, those.
And it's okay to say no. Girl.
Yes, 100%.
Right?
100%.
Yeah.
So family is first, because I know they're always going to be around. So you have to set those boundaries with those toxic family members as soon as possible. Workspaces is kind of tricky because, at the end of the day, you can't really avoid them, but you can just kind of cut them off in your head. Don't think too much about them. Don't complain about them when you get home. Just really try and forget about them and deal with them only at work. And then you get situations where you have friends and neighbors. Ooh. So that's also another tricky one. I just play along because I know that really sometimes I don't care about them.
But don't you get tired from playing along though?
No, I don't care. I don't care. So you're just like that person who's toxic.
Yes.
But it just really doesn't affect me personally because you don't mean nothing to me.
Okay.
Yeah, well, this is challenging stuff. Just by the way, one little snippet from the study. There were questionnaires, there were interviews, and so on. But they also used biological tests, and one of them is called DNA methylation-based biological aging clocks. I'm sure you're thinking, yeah, I know that. But you probably don't think that at all. But anyway, they collected saliva samples because this actually tests. And I don't know enough about it, but maybe there's some scientists, biologists out there, people who work in this space who might want to call in and add some layers. But very, very interesting indeed. Okay, call us on that, please, on 011 8830 702 and 072 702 1702. And in particular, if you found a way to neutralize the toxicity created by certain people in your lives, give us some tips because we could all use them. 19 minutes past 3. Let's get the latest traffic news.
Well, at this stage, Dr. John, if you are leaving Germiston heading towards Brakpan, roadworks causing about a 20-minute delay, N17 eastbound between Osborne and Heidelberg Road. Also, bumper-to-bumper traffic leaving Santon. This is on Catherine Street between Rivonia Road and Greyston Drive. There's also slow-moving traffic if you are heading into the Joburg CBD on the M1 southbound between Killarney Benz and the Crown Interchange. In Bryanston, this is traveling towards Four Ways. Douglasdale area, there's slow-moving traffic on Douglas Drive between Bryanston Drive and Leslie. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
Clement Maniatella,
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
There's also a question we've been getting around, and I know you've dealt with this as an organization, the allegations that came linking Sizekaya to the Deputy President, Paul Mashatile. Are you worried about how that somehow puts the credibility of the organization at risk? How have you dealt with it?
Once again, I think within the context of everything that's happening in South Africa, we can't be numb to the noise, right? But I can assure South Africans at large that we are in no way politically tainted, politically favored, and we truly believe that this was at the back of a strong, very, very strong and excellent value proposition that we put forward.
Clement Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Mzansi, it's raining millions with Powerball and Powerball Plus at 124 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Tuesday. Don't delay. Make it rain lots of cash this March by playing Powerball for 84 million and Powerball Plus for 40 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app or cell phone banking. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
For Mamotati and Kensani of Design News, a beautiful room starts with a rock-solid connection. Tell us what was slowing down your growth.
It would have to be slow network coverage.
Now, Telkom Business Fiber lets the team process large renders while the landline keeps supplier calls coming in.
Get Call Light Fiber from 655 Rand per month and unlimited VoIP 1 from 99 Rand per month. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Ask yourself, what matters most? Is it being there for their first steps and still around for their first dance? Knowing you're not just covered, but cared for. Bonitas goes beyond benefits and claims. We're in your corner for what matters most. Bonitas, medical aid for South Africa. Voted #1 medical aid in the Ask Africa Orange Index Awards for the second year running. Visit bonitas.co.za and find your plan.
On Friday, 13 March, the Grateful Hearts Foundation invites you to celebrate motherhood, love and legacy at Pilo, A Mother's Love. It's a powerful evening of art, food and wine in Rosebank. Hosted at Aspire Art and the Atrium at Keys Art Mile, experience works by Sam Nklengetwa, Zizipo Poswa, Boemo Diale and more. Enjoy a harvest table by Lady Day, fine wine and an intimate artist panel. All proceeds support pediatric cardiac care through Nelson Mandela Children's Hospital. Get your tickets today on Howler.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Well, let's go to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry today. I did mention that Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga showed a level of anger, I think it's fair to say, and a certain degree of steel. I think that's also part of the mix in an exchange earlier with Council for Northwest Province businessman Suleiman Karim. I'm referring to Advocate Rafiq Bana. Tabiso Goba was there, and he's also kept an eye on what has happened in the back and forth between the evidence leader and Mr. Karim himself. But Tabiso, briefly, for people who might have missed it, this was a side we haven't yet seen from Justice Madlanga. He has always been firm. There's no doubting that there is a very sharp mind and a band of steel behind his great politeness. But today he was very angry. What prompted it?
Good afternoon, John. Yes, 100%. Recently, Madlanga, not just at the commission, but also during his time in the constitutional court, he's always been, a judge or a presiding officer who's always calm and composed. But we did see him get a bit angry today, and the reason that he got angry is because the legal team or the lawyers for Mr. Suleiman Karim, they wanted the matter to stand down today because there were some documents that they received late, and they wanted, because of those documents, they didn't have time to brief their client, and they wanted to file a postponement. And there was a question by Mr. Madlanga where he said that if we were to grant you this postponement, then, how would you then deal with it? And then unfortunately for Mr. Rafiq Bana, who was representing Mr. Karim, he didn't hear that if, and he then suggested that Mr. Madlanga may have prejudged the postponement application that he intended on filing. And then that's where the back and forth came, where Mr. Madlanga was telling him that I said if, and then Mr. Bana was like, no, I didn't hear the word if, and it sounded to me like you're prejudging an application that you haven't heard. And Mr. Madlanga took very, very serious exception to someone suggesting that he has prejudged an application that he hasn't heard. And I do have to say, John, that Mr. Bana, after a short adjournment, Mr. Bana did apologize to Mr. Madlanga and said that he didn't hear the word if, and that's how that disagreement came about.
Yeah, so let's get in then to the conversations, Tabiso, that and very briefly, if you can, that were covered today. Still very much around Mr. Karim's relationship with Vusi Katmatlala on the one hand, and with Hangwani Maumela on the other, with Brown Mokhotsi coming in and out of the conversation, but not much today. What do you think has been the most awkward thing that Mr. Karim has had to deal with so far today?
Well, the most awkward thing, John, will have to be a 2 million rand payment that was unveiled by the evidence leaders that Mr. Karim did not disclose. You remember, John, that we spoke about this yesterday, that Mr. Karim said he loaned Medicare 24 10 million rand to service the tender that it got from SAPS. Now, it was later revealed that that money, it wasn't actually 10 million rand, it was actually 12 million rand. There was a 2.1 million rand that he didn't reveal. And when he was asked about this, John, he just said that, well, he doesn't know who is in company sent the 2 million rand to Medicare 24, and that he didn't authorize it. And obviously, I can tell you, John, that the co-commissioners and the evidence leaders didn't buy it in saying that you are the owner of the company. How can someone just write a check of 2 million rand and you don't notice this and you don't raise it? That's fraud. You never did anything around it. But also, John, there was he just wrapped up testifying. He's going to be back on the 16th of April. But before he finished wrapping up, Mr. Matthew Chaskelson, the evidence leader, saying that, what we have seen so far is that you have tried to place yourself as someone who is an investor, as someone who's outside of this, because he said that, he was just caught up in this web of Vusimuzikat Matlala, Hangwani, and Brown Mokhotsi. But what Mr. Chaskalson, the evidence leader, is saying that based on the evidence that we have so far, you are not an investor, you are not a lender, you are a big player in this entire web of unfortunate corruption and fraud that took place within SAPS and within other institutions. So that's where we are now. As I said, he just wrapped up. He's going to be back on the 16th of April, where obviously we're going to get more details around this web of connection between him and his alleged cartel boss and tender fraudsters.
Thank you so much, Tabiso Gorba. 28 minutes past 3. Let's focus our attention now on the economy. Some positive GDP numbers, but what exactly do they mean? 1.1% was the GDP growth in 2025. Strong numbers for the fourth quarter of last year. Let's get an insight, though, into what the numbers tell us, and both the good and the bad. Kanti Pai is economist and director at Inani Strategies. Mr. Pai, welcome, and thanks very much for your time. Better, but not good enough. Would that be a fair summary? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John. That is certainly a good summary of it. And perhaps to say that if you want to add to that, also shows us where the improvements actually need to be made. And I think that's really one of the key things that we have to focus on, that it is clear now what we know, what the things that we struggle with, and what we really need to focus on. And I think that's one of the key things we take out of this report.
So in terms of sectors, I mean, where we do see positive numbers, are they being driven by particular sectors? And if they are, for example, if you look at gold and platinum, there's always the worry that this is cyclical, and it doesn't necessarily mean there are more mines or mine workers. What's your take on where, if we are seeing growth, we are seeing growth?
Sure, John. I think that's an important thing when we think about the whole economy. And I think you do a very good job when you say we look at the big number and then we say what are the subsectors. Then you go into the mine, and then when you go to the mines or agriculture, you say what are the sub things within the mining itself. And so when we think about obviously when we mention gold, that has been obviously driven in large part by obviously the prices that you saw last year that did very, very well. So the improvement in prices led us to the gains that we received in terms of the money that we took to the budget. That was looking very good. But it does tell us that the primary sectors, whether it's agriculture, whether it's mining, still are very much our bread and butter. And we need to do more to support those sectors, whether we're talking about incentives, whether we're talking about making sure there's the right kind of infrastructure, the policy environment, because this is where we still do really well. We saw the numbers, for example, in agriculture that suggested that agriculture has created more jobs now than it has over a 5-year period. And that actually tells us that there's an opportunity there to support agriculture to be able to create the jobs. We can do the same thing in mining to make sure that we don't actually just, you look at that, you look at the growth in the mining sector, it actually contracted, but yet it was the one sector, if you look at the subsector, that actually contributed to our financial or fiscal fortunes, if you listen to the Minister of Finance.
Thank you so much. Kanti Pai, economist and director at Inani Strategies. Now, the GDP numbers are exactly that. It's a macro number that reflects trends across the entire economy. But if you were to look over the last 12 months, whatever line of work you're in, whether you're a work seeker, whether you're working, whether you run a small business, play a part in a larger business, or maybe even are the person who started that enterprise, what would your take be on the last 12 months? Do give us a call on that on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. 28 minutes to 4. Mbali Dlamini, a very good afternoon to you. What's happening in the news?
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Gauteng Finance MEC Lebogang Maile has reaffirmed the importance of infrastructure investment for long-term economic growth and improving service delivery. Delivering the provincial budget speech today, Maile says 36.4 billion rand has been allocated towards infrastructure over the medium term. He says the province will rely on public-private partnerships in order to maximize resources.
We have lots of pressures in our fiscus, and we have no choice but to ensure that we fast-track these and ensure that we attract a lot of private sector investment. We are very serious and we're making sure that these triple Ps succeed.
At the same time, the KZN government has announced that no department will face budget cuts in the 2026-2027 financial year. This includes the health and education departments, which previously saw some cutbacks. The province's 168.2 billion rand budget was tabled in the KZN legislature today. Finance MEC Francois Rogers explains how the budget cuts will be prevented.
As I indicated earlier, we have tried to lessen the impact of these budget cuts on the departments, and this was done by reducing the contingency reserve in each of the MTF years.
Rogers also informed the legislature about an increase in the conditional grant allocation.
Further positive news, Madam Speaker, is that we receive a substantial increase in our conditional grant allocation. The conditional grant budget increases by 1.7 billion rand in 26-27, 617 million rand in 27-28, and by 1.6 billion rand in 2028-29.
A learner is in a critical condition in hospital this afternoon following a scholar transport crash in Dawn Park, Ekurhuleni earlier today. She and 7 others were injured when the minibus taxi they were travelling in was hit by a bakkie. Jabuli Limbata has more.
Ekurhuleni Metro Police say during peak traffic this morning, the scholar transport was on its way from Leondale to Katlehong Technical College when the crash happened. City of Ekurhuleni's Dickie McDonald says Metro Police officers were controlling traffic where lights at the intersection are not working when the accident happened.
It is alleged that the incident happened while there were traffic patrollers on directing traffic on the corners of the intersection of R155 and Heidelberg Road.
The bakkie hit the side of the scholar transport, injuring all 8 learners who have been taken to various hospitals. One of the occupants from the bakkie has been admitted to hospital. The driver of the scholar transport was unscathed. Jabuli Limbata, Eyewitness News, Ekurhuleni.
And after 6 years of being halted, train services between China and North Korea will resume this week. Train journeys between the two countries were halted in 2020 after the imposition of strict border closures to prevent the coronavirus from spreading. North Korea briefly eased restrictions on cross-border travel and allowed a limited number of foreign tour groups to visit the northeastern special economic zone. Tourists will not be eligible to buy tickets as yet. It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 24 and 27 degrees.
Well, at this stage in Montana, Pretoria, slow-moving traffic on Sefako Mahato Drive between Enkel Duren and the N1. Also, bumper-to-bumper traffic. That's in the Bryanston area on Grosvenor Road between Bryanston Drive and Leslie. And look out for those faulty traffic lights causing heavy delays in Lone Hill at Lone Hill Boulevard and Main Road.
The top story in EWN, Gauteng Finance MEC Lebogang Maliile has reiterated the importance of infrastructure investment for long-term economic growth in the province.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
There are claims by taxi operators that the SAPS is sitting with information as to who is behind all of extortion to the tune of 13 million rand.
I don't believe SAPS is completely clean in the process for this. I mean, currently there's a member of the actual taxi violence unit that himself has or owns taxis, something that's directly in contradiction with their own regulations.
Ian Cameron is the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Police in the National Assembly.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Stop and think. Will you survive the AI revolution or thrive? Regenesis students are thriving. 11 cutting-edge schools, 111 countries, world-class team of 1,111 with one mission, awakening your potential. Choose from law, business, technology, AI, health, economics, entrepreneurship, public management, skills academy, and digital Regenesis. Undergraduate, postgraduate, upskilling, customized corporate programs. The question isn't, can you afford to enroll? It's, can you afford not to? Enroll now, regenesis.net. Achieve your dreams.
Every day I'm hustling. It's our reality as business owners. And it's good to know that there's someone out there who takes care of the business that makes the business. Gotta love My Way Business Insurance. Saving big on premiums with 24/7 emergency services, plus My Business Assist with marketing, legal, and labor advice services.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Good afternoon, John. This is Kabele from Pretoria. The problem with toxic people is that generally and from the outside, they are good people. And now the part that strains one when dealing with them is that you live with the hope that they will change, and they never do. So that's the straining part of dealing with it, with toxic people.
Hi, John. This is Sedora Tsumane. John, it's so difficult, having a toxic person, let alone if that person is your manager or a supervisor. I had this manager, man. The manager who was nagging and man, it was so difficult, man. At times, I would wish that, when I get to work, I'd hear news that no, he's not coming anymore, or maybe he's just passed on. I had that feeling, man, because it was bad.
Yeah, thanks for that. The question we asked, there is a new study done, published in one of the leading scientific journals, that says that the studies show that if you have sufficiently toxic people in your life and their presence is somewhat ever present, it actually can lead to you aging faster than you would normally. I think it's a very interesting thing because they've done not only surveys and asked people questions, but they've actually done some DNA-based testing as well. To look at this. And I think it's important because you can easily say to yourself, well, this is just a kind of a hassle in my life. But if it actually materially affects your health, I think it's worth talking about. Abigail asked this very candidly. She says, what if I'm the difficult person? Asking for myself, very candid. Abigail, it's a good question, actually, and maybe somebody wants to give some input on that. But the thread that I was hoping to get more thoughts on is how you actually deal with people. If you found a way to detox toxic people in your life, even if you don't necessarily have the means or the opportunity to physically separate from them, but you perhaps reduce the amount of space they seem to have rent-free in your head. So give us your thoughts on that. 072 702 1702 and 011 883 0702. 19 minutes to 4.
EWN Sport.
Cup football over the past weekend. We're back with the Betway Premiership title race, and Tolakele Mganga has the latest, plus some Champions League sport as well. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, John, and that race is back in focus tonight as Mamelodi Sundowns travel to Orbit College. The Brazilians are joint top of the standings with the Orlando Pirates with only one goal separating the two. Midfielder Ntsiki Ntsabeleng will hope to play some part in that game as he seeks to make the most of his time on loan from MLS side FC Dallas.
Yeah, I think as we all know, Mamelodi Sundowns is a big team. There's a lot of quality players and this is a big squad as well. So everyone kind of has to wait for their opportunity, and then when it comes, they have to grab it with both hands. So yeah, I think the biggest part has been patience and working hard while staying patient.
Eddie Howe believes that tonight's UEFA Champions League last 16 clash with Barcelona is the biggest in Newcastle United's history. It's the second meeting between the two clubs this campaign, with the Catalans running out 2-1 winners in their league phase meeting back in September.
Well, we've never been in this position in the Champions League before, and it's the best competition there is. So I think for obvious reasons, I think it's a massive game in our history, and we need to approach it that way. We need the supporters to think that way, and we need to try and find some energy from somewhere that will elevate our performance to a level that we've not seen before this season, because I think that's the only way we get through.
India bowler Arshdeep Singh has been fined by the ICC after throwing a ball at New Zealand batsman Daryl Mitchell in Sunday's T20 World Cup final. Arshdeep launched the ball at Mitchell, striking him on the pads in the 11th over of the Black Caps' run chase, and in response, a furious Mitchell gestured and advanced towards Arshdeep, but the bowler turned and walked back to his mark instead of apologising. Arshdeep did apologise at the end of the over and has subsequently been fined 15% of his match fee after accepting the sanction, which meant a formal hearing was not necessary. And double Olympic champion Eliud Kipchoge will compete in his first marathon on African soil. That's when he lines up in Cape Town on May 24th. The Kenyan long-distance runner will compete in the Cape Town Marathon, which is currently a candidate for Abbott World Marathon major status. And if all goes well in 2026, will join the likes of London, New York and Tokyo on the Global Running Series. Kipchoge's participation for the race is also the start of his bid to run a marathon on all 7 continents over the next 2 years. Tolagile Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
17 minutes to 4. Delays out in Montana and some other traffic news as well, I'm sure. Here's Karabo once again.
Yeah, Montana heading towards the N1. There's slow-moving traffic on Sefako Makhato Drive between Ankle Doran and the highway. There's also slow-moving traffic in Bryanston heading towards Fourways on Grosvenor Road between Bryanston Drive and Leslie. Santon, bumper-to-bumper traffic. This is heading towards the M1 on Greyston Drive between Rivonia Road and Catherine. If you're leaving Germiston heading towards Brakpan, we still have those roadworks causing about a 20-minute delay on the N17 eastbound. That's in the Boksburg Sunwood Park area between Osborne and Heidelberg Road, and in Benoni, Boksburg. Also slow-moving traffic on Atlas Road approaching North Rand Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're now listening to 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
702 Drive, a study we referred to a little bit earlier that was done at New York University, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the United States of America. Apparently, it's also known as PNAS. But anyway, it's a fairly serious study, and, well, it's a very serious journal, and it's a serious study as well. I don't know why I use the word fairly. They found that toxic people in your life can actually accelerate the speed at which you age, your biological aging. And I've shared with you some of the methodology they used in actually doing the study. But Tolakele, I wanted to ask you, I mean, two-part question, I suppose. When you've had to deal with a person like that in your life, do you feel, in a way, do you almost feel like this person's going to, you know, we use expressions like, this person's going to send me to an early grave, or this person is taking years off my life? They're finding that actually these kind of people do. So I'm just wondering, have you had that kind of thing to deal with in your life? And if you have you come up with good ways to shake them off, even if you can't remove them physically, to maybe neutralize them emotionally?
I think a lot of it is just like a gradual build-up, because sometimes you also try to convince yourself that maybe you're overreacting and it's not that deep. So until you kind of speak with other people and find out their experiences, then you're like, actually, it is very serious and it is something that you have to handle. For me, I'm like a 2 strikes and then cut it off sort of person.
Yes.
So I'll bring it up one time.
2 strikes, third one gone.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got Karabo and I've still got a couple. I think we're both on one.
So you bring it up the first time, because also no one learns perfectly the first time. So then when it happens the second time, then you're just like, you know what, I did my bit. From here on out is no longer my business. But I also think we also need to self-reflect as people, because toxicity doesn't always come the same way. Me personally, I'm passive-aggressive.
Yes.
And I'm trying to unlearn that, because for someone else, what I consider as it's me just saving myself the drama of creating confusion. For someone else, it's actually you creating an environment where I can't even be open and honest with you, because when you've just decided that this is the right and the wrong way to deal with things, and I can't address it beyond those 2 rules. So I think we all have to redefine what our level of toxic is. Approach people, because no one, it's the first time we're all living this thing. So you have to make someone aware when they're making you uncomfortable, when you don't like this thing. And then if they're choosing not to do the work, leave the situation.
Yeah, and interesting what you say. You have to look at yourself as well. I referred to Abigail's post on Facebook, says, what if I'm the difficult person? Asking, and usually when people say asking for, they say a friend, but she says asking for myself. Let's get your thoughts, please, on 072 702 1702 and 011 883 0702. Interesting development in the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. It was referred to in the President's State of the Nation address. There will be the creation of a national property company. And what that will do is look to first save government money by making sure that government fixes up buildings it has, rather than pay over hundreds of millions and sometimes billions in rentals, but also that the refurbishment process itself could create, firstly, opportunities for enterprises, small, medium and large, but also create some jobs as well. It's an interesting idea. Public Works Minister Dean McPherson, our guest at 20 minutes past 4.
John Perlman
on 702.
3 to 6 p.m.
Well, earlier today, 702 Afternoons with Rilebogile Mabucha took you to the wild beauty of KwaZulu-Natal, where the spotlight was on Hilltop Camp. It's one of our great conservation treasures. The KZN Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs, together with Ezemvelo KZN Wildlife, are there, highlighting conservation efforts, and the incredible wildlife experiences that the province has to offer. So let's head back there now and check in with Jonathan Kabazela Fairbairn, who was there yesterday and is covering all of this again today. Kabazela, good afternoon and welcome. You really have been able to spend some time in a real wildlife jewel, not just in regard to KZN, but I think it's a national treasure as well. What have you got to share with us? I hope you've had a brilliant time.
Yeah, good afternoon to you, John, and to our 702 family. It's been an absolute treat, I must say. If you think about conversations that you have with people and you say, have you been to the bush? 9 times out of 10 people say Kruger National Park or the Pilansberg. And very seldom have I heard Hlehlule. And I absolutely cannot understand why, because this is such a beautiful, beautiful place, and particularly a beautiful spot in KZN in Zululand. And there's so much stuff that I had learned today. I mean, I was staying about an hour away from Hlehlule Mfolozi Park. And, I got to the Memorial Gate and entered, and I had missed a game drive early this morning, which took place at about 5:30, which I was very jealous about. So as I'm driving into this park, well, the first thing you notice is that it's unlike the Kruger Park or the Pilansberg, because what you see here is just rolling hills and mountains,
right,
and very dense, thick, trees and bushes all around. And I'm driving on this road, and on I go, and probably within 5 minutes of being inside the park, I come across, all by myself, nobody around me, a beautiful pair, a mating pair, I think, or a lion and a lioness, just lying there on the road, dreaming and sleeping and doing what they do. And I sat there for a moment and just looked around and thought, we really, really live in an absolutely beautiful country. Then I eventually made my way on, and then I came across elephant. I came across about 5 rhinoceros just on the side of the road, grazing the grass, just minding their own business, and really having a great time. And I mean, this was in about 5 minutes of being within the park. I couldn't believe that I'd seen so much for being there for such a short time. Then got to Hilltop, and I mean, Hilltop is a main camp within the Hlehlule Mfolozi Park, and it is really beautiful. I mean, as it says, it's on the hilltop, and you've got these views, spectacular views all around as far as the eye can see. So it really, really is a special park. But I was lucky enough, I got to chat, John, to the Chief Executive Officer of Ezemvelo KZN Wildlife, Mr. Sitle Mkize, and I asked him about the reserve and what makes it so important and special.
Hlehlule Mfolozi Park, it's one of the oldest parks in Africa, the second oldest in the world. It was established in 1895, and this is where the white rhino was saved from extinct in the world. The genes of the white rhinos that you are seeing now all over the world, they emanate from this park. This park, it used to be Shaka Zulu's hunting ground. This is where Amakhosi, the royalties, they were hunting. So it's got also that history of Zulu culture and heritage that is quite important. It's 96,000 hectares of land. And as you have correctly said, we've got the Big Five, and we've got all the key species. The tourists who come and visit here, they come and enjoy and see. You've got high chances of seeing the Big Five within a day or two within this park. And we've tried through our work of biodiversity conservation to keep it in this pristine condition to look as beautiful as you can see.
So, John, I mean, one of the themes that comes up a lot, and I'm sure that KZN Ezemvelo have had to deal with this as well, is the relationship between game reserves, areas of conservation on the one hand, and communities who live on those borders, because they're looking to also benefit from the revenue generated by tourism. I don't know if that came up in the conversation as well.
It did indeed, John, because when you're driving through to the main Memorial Gate, you go through these winding roads, which are all well looked after, I must say. I mean, there are a couple of potholes and all that, so you need to be careful, but they are pretty well maintained. And you look all around, and there's so many local community members that are living around the park, and on the doorstep, so to speak. So I asked him that question. I said to him, in terms of the communities around the park, how do you get their buy-in? How do you bring them into the park as well, so that they also can experience the beauties and the offerings that the park has to offer, not just from recreation, but from an economic point of view as well?
Where we've said we want communities adjacent to park to benefit meaningfully. What we've done at Ezemvelo, there are certain levels of employment where we don't go even to newspapers to advertise. We advertise it through the neighboring communities, so where they can apply and we tap land from there. Also, we've established the employment committee in this area, so that when there are contract positions or seasonal workers that we need, we can go to that committee. They do the first level of screening before we take over and shortlist and go forward. But we've also opened up the procurement opportunities for them. Some of the work that is being done here is done by the community artisans, which we are training as Ezemvelo. They help us with thatching, they help us with painting, plumbing, changing the globes, that kind of work that the artisans can do, working with the communities we work today. So it's for that reason that the National People in Parks, they commended KZN for the sterling work that we are doing with communities in terms of supporting them meaningfully. We meet with them on a quarterly basis. There are core management structures that we work with. We capacitate them, and they are part of us in terms of resolving any challenges that are there. They've also contributed a lot in the decrease in rhino poaching, because the poachers, when they come, they will reside in the communities outside. But with this cooperation that we have, we've been able to get them on our side, not to accommodate the poachers. Like in January, we achieved zero poaching for the first time in decades in that area because of that collaboration.
Wow.
Yeah,
fascinating there, hey, John.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, that's where, we talk a lot about sustainability, and often that refers to fauna and flora, animals and the vegetation and natural landscape. But if the sustainability plan doesn't include the kind of things that Mr. Mkhize was talking about there, then, it will always, I think, be bedeviled by bad neighborly relationships. Jono, just a last question. Are the lions still there?
Yeah. Well, the first thing you said to me was when you found out I was going, it was like, please just take a nice picture of some cats for me.
Yeah.
So when I saw those cats there, obviously thought of you the first time, and I sent them through. But then on the way back, the male, the lion had disappeared and had gone somewhere and left the female all by her lonesome, lying on the road there, which I did take a snap of. But really, really stunning views. And I'd love to hear our 702 family's thoughts. Have you been to the Tlhlui Mfulezi Game Reserve? And what were your thoughts? And in terms of comparing it to other reserves, what did you think? I must say, I really, really was blown away. And if you're a novice or you're a veteran and this hasn't been on your bucket list yet, you got to make a plan and consider it, because you can come to the KZN province, you can get the bush, you can also get the sea. There's Isimangaliso wetlands, which are very nearby as well.
St. Lucia, some people know it as, yeah.
Yes, there's so much to do within the surrounding areas.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much, Jonathan Kabazela Fairburn, hosted by the KZN Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs. His co-host Ezemvelo, KZN Wildlife, and we heard there from the CEO of Ezemvelo. 702 Drive, it's 2 minutes to 4.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9. We've been keeping an eye on developments in terms of the war, but many South Africans may feel it's very, very far away. It's not quite that simple, is it?
No, definitely not, particularly when it comes to a resource that we don't produce locally and we have to source from abroad.
Tell me about the Straits of Hormuz.
That's a passage, a very narrow passage, in which a fair chunk of oil that moves globally passes through. If that is interrupted in any way, it would make it difficult for crude oil to be transported to its various refining locations.
What does it mean for us?
It would imply an inability to refine at a rate that matches our consumption rate. But key here, how long is this going to persist for? In addition to that, how quickly are we burning through our reserves?
Bobby Ramagwede, the CEO of the Automobile Association.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
The Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra's summer season continues with a superb program under the baton of Maestro Daniel Boyko, featuring violinist Zanta Hofmeyer performing Mendelssohn's most beloved violin concerto and soprano Sipokazi Mapumulo and the Gauteng choristers performing Bessie's thrilling Rise of the Hunter. This concert is not to be missed. Thursday, 12 March at 7:30 p.m. at the Linda Auditorium. Tickets available on Quicket.
Switching was so quick and easy. I'm happy with the premium that I'm paying now.
Outsurance business insurance clients know that it pays to switch. And did you know you could get a guaranteed premium for 12 months even if you claim? For electrical, tradesman services and all other businesses. Get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Driving the conversation on 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Powered by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
This is EWN.
Karim responds to allegations of collusion in major tenders, and IEC wants declaration of election date to be made soon. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry has heard evidence of how controversial Northwest businessman Suleiman Karim and Brown Mukhotsi allegedly colluded to block a multi-million rand catering tender after it was not awarded to their preferred bidder. Their preferred bidder was a company which is owned by alleged tender fraudster Hangwani Maumela. Karim has been testifying at the Madlanga Commission today about his relationship with Maumela. Tabiso Koba has more.
In August 2023, the Northwest Department of Health awarded a multi-million rand tender to Mediway to provide catering services at its facilities for a period of 4 years. 1 month later, the Brown Mukhotsi Foundation took the department and Mediway to court and successfully interdicted the tender. It was revealed at the Madlanga Commission today that businessman Suleiman Karim funded the litigation. Evidence leader Matthew Chaskelson put it to Karim that the interdict was to help Alu Construction, which is owned by alleged tender fraudster Hangwani Maumela.
Alu Construction was also one of the losing bidders in the Mediware tender that was interdicted with your money. Were you aware of that?
No.
You see, Mr. Karim, I find this quite difficult to believe.
Karim acknowledged he was good friends with Maumela at the time, having bought his house and in business together. However, he says he had no idea that the litigation would result in Maumela's company having another chance to bid for the tender. Tabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
Acting Deputy National Police Commissioner Hilda Sintumule has accused Shadrack Sibiya of spreading falsehoods about having a medical procedure paid for by Vusumuzi Kat Matlala. Sintumule says she was deeply offended by Sibiya's claim that Matlala paid for her cosmetic surgery. She says she is now pursuing civil and criminal charges against Sibiya. Sintumule has been giving evidence today before Parliament's ad hoc committee, which is probing allegations of police corruption. Babalondenze reports.
Suspended Deputy National Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya testified before the Madlanga Commission earlier this year that Hilda Sintumule benefited from alleged crime kingpin Vusumuzi Kat Matlala. Sibiya said that Matlala not only sponsored the police with Sentumule's knowledge, he also paid for her cosmetic surgery. But a clearly frustrated Sentumule again denied the claims, saying she paid for her own procedure.
I wish to submit to this committee that it is rather gravely unfortunate that I have to respond to this. And for me, I must say, Mr. Matlala, you can trace the money that I paid for my procedures.
She says she will be acting against Sibiya.
2 processes that I'm pursuing. One is legal and the one is criminal.
Sentumule says she will provide feedback to the committee about her case in due course. Her evidence continues. Babalo Ndanza, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
The Electoral Commission says an early announcement of the official date for local government elections would make its preparations for the highly anticipated polls much easier. Cooperative Governance Minister Velingosini Hlabisa is yet to confirm the date for the municipal elections. The elections must, however, take place between the 1st of November and the 1st of February next year. Speaking at a media briefing in Centurion today, IEC Chief Electoral Officer Sai Mamabolo says the sooner the date is announced, the better.
The Commission's position is that an early announcement of an election date is critical to allow South Africans to decide where they will be on voting day, as this determines directly where they are required to register.
Mamabolo expands further on the importance of an early announcement of the official date.
For instance, a student studying in one province but ordinarily resident in another must know whether they will be on campus or at home when the country votes. That clarity ensures they register correctly and avoids unnecessary administrative complications closer to election date.
A Bulgarian man wanted by Interpol will remain behind bars after the Weinberg Magistrates Court ruled that his arrest was lawful. Stanislav Stamenov, who is wanted by Romanian authorities to serve 16 years in prison for drug trafficking, appeared in court today. He was sentenced by a Romanian court in absentia in 2019. Stamenov has been living in Cape Town and working as a personal trainer before his arrest on February the 27th. Ndutu Zalonene reports.
Stanislav Stamenov's lawyer, William Booth, had brought an application challenging the legality of his client's arrest. Booth argued that the Interpol red notice was not a valid arrest warrant. However, the Weinberg Magistrates Court rejected that argument. Magistrate Shilam Timunye ruled that there's sufficient information indicating that Stamenov committed an extraditable offense in Romania. She also found that there are grounds for his continued detention while extradition proceedings continue. Ndutu Zalonene, Eyewitness News at the Weinberg Magistrates Court.
And in Denmark, the Danish Supreme Court has heard arguments in a case that accuses the country of exporting weapons to Israel. 4 prominent organizations took legal action to stop exports of weapons and military equipment to Israel. The organizations want the courts to assess whether the exports violate the rules on arms and trade. Gold is trading at $5,204.41 an ounce. The rand is at 16.32 to the dollar, 21.96 to the pound, 18.99 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $92.50 a barrel.
Irene, slow-moving traffic. This is approaching the intersection of Nelmay Pierce Drive and Main Road. Montana also bumper-to-bumper traffic on Sefako Drive between Enkeldoorn and the N1. And in Bryanston, expect some delays on Grosvenor Road between Bryanston Drive and Leslie.
In your sport, Mamelodi Sundowns looking to return to the summit of the Bedway Premiership standings with a win over Orbit College. Eddie Howe urges Newcastle to create history against Barcelona. And Eliud Kipchoge to race the 2026 Cape Town Marathon.
A partly cloudy start to the day in Gauteng tomorrow, otherwise becoming fine. Johannesburg drops to an overnight low of 12 degrees, peaking at 24. Pretoria 13 and 26, and Vereeniging 9 at a high of 25 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, the Madlanga Commission has heard evidence of how controversial Northwest businessmen Suleiman Karim and Brown Mkhotsi allegedly colluded to block a multi-million rand catering tender.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
8 minutes past 4 on 702 Drive. Hope you've had a good Tuesday so far. Traffic building up. We'll make sure that we guide you through the very worst of it and entertain you for as long as you're out on the roads. Of course, many of you might be home already, and it's great to have you with us as part of the 702 Drive family this afternoon in March. Coming up over the next hour, the Independent Electoral Commission has started talking about plans that are already very much underway ahead of local government elections. The talk seems to be that those will be in November. Chief Electoral Officer Saimama Bolo joining us shortly for an update on that. After 5 o'clock, we'll be talking about the real possibility, some people say, that we could be faced with fuel rationing, depending, of course, on what happens with the global oil and distribution situation. The war in and around Iran very much at the center of those concerns. Peter Morgan, CEO of the Liquid Fuels Wholesalers Association, is my guest after 5. Before that, we'll talk to Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Dean McPherson. There is a new state-owned property company that's going to be created, and they are going, or that entity is going to look to redirect the literally billions that get spent by government departments on rentals, when in fact the state owns all this property that just needs some fixing up. That conversation with Dean McPherson coming up at about 20 minutes past 4. We shared with you a little bit earlier a study that found that difficult people in your life, toxic people around you, can actually make you age faster. I'm not talking metaphorically, like saying, this relationship is taking years off my life. Literally, the studies have included biological testing for certain DNA elements, and they're finding, people are getting older if they've got toxic people in and around them and they don't really know what to do with them. Some of you had some thoughts on that.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Afternoon, Tata John. A simple thing about toxic friend is to cut ties. Just stay away from him or stay away from them. Simple as that. Now, if I can tell you that I'm alone most of the time. I used to spend my weekend alone. Even when I go to watch soccer, I go alone. Because these guys, they feel like they have everything. It's like they choose to be the way they are. So don't even listen to them. Stay away from that people. I'm okay now. I'm alone, but I'm still thinking some of the words that they told me. It's not easy, but you have to make sure that you have to stay away from that people.
Okay, John, toxic people, I think the term is very loosely used these days. They are difficult people, but I think we also tend to, because it's the word is used so much in the media and all of that, that, we tend to immediately label people toxic if we don't like them or don't understand them. That said, I really took to heart something that I heard a disabled lady say many years ago in an interview, when she was asked if she takes offense at how people treat the disabled or whether people are condescending towards her because of a disability. And she simply said, no one can give me offense. I decide when to take offense at something. And I always keep that in mind in terms of the boundaries.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, these are very interesting, and a couple of the text messages echo some of the thoughts in those voice notes. Let me share this with you. Cyrus says, I hardly interact with people since after 2020. I love them from afar. They are very draining and toxic. And Roy says, Cyrus, excellent decision. A wise man once said, the less people you interact with in your life, the less you have to deal with. Maddie opens her conversations by referencing this song from Taylor Swift.
Hi, I'm the problem, it's me. At tea time, everybody agrees. I'll stare directly at the sun, but never in the mirror. It must be exhausting, always rooting for the anti-hero.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Don't worry, I'm not even going to try and sing it. Maddie concludes, I remove myself from toxic people because it's never them. So, suggesting it's me. And she says, yes, I am aging backwards. Maddie, the secret. Please share it. 13 minutes past 4.
EWN Traffic.
News from the Independent Electoral Commission in a moment, but traffic first. Here's Karabo Chali.
Well, at this stage in Midrand, traffic sluggish N1 northbound. That's heading towards Centurion between the Butlu Interchange and New Road. While in Bryanston, expect delays on Grosvenor Road between Bryanston Drive and Leslie and Santon. Bumper-to-bumper traffic. That's leaving the Santon area on Catherine Street between Rivonia Road and Greyston Drive. Also leaving Germiston heading towards Brakpan. Roadworks still causing about a 20-minute delay on the N17 between Osborne and Rondebold. That's in the Boksburg Sunwood Park area. In Benoni, Boksburg, there's also slow-moving traffic on Atlas Road. Approaching North Rand Road in the city of Tshwane, Irene, slow-moving traffic. Approaching the intersection of Namapiers Drive and Main Road. Montana, we still have slow-moving traffic. This is on Sefako Mahato Drive between Enkel Duren and the N1 in the Erasmus Kloof area. Expect heavy delays. This is approaching the intersection of Solomon Mahlangu and Dalmas Drive. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. Stay with 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Local government elections, as I'm certain you know, coming up later this year. The month of November has been mentioned as a possible time when it happens. But the Independent Electoral Commission of South Africa today brought the media together, and obviously through us they want to communicate with all of you about their election preparations. To talk about that, we're joined by Sai Mamabolo, who's Chief Electoral Officer at the IEC. Mr. Mamabolo, welcome and thanks very much for your time. I understand that part of what you had to say today was really calling on the people making this decision to give us an election date as soon as possible. Why is that so important? Is it merely to focus the mind, or do your plans actually at a certain point need to focus on a very specific set of days and not just something as broad as a month?
Thank you very much, John, and greetings to all the listeners. It's both elements really to the call that we're making. Firstly, it's as a functional necessity, in a sense that students who are on campus, they need to know whether to register at home or to register on campus.
Right.
Because given the date, it may have an implication as to where they register, especially because in the context of a local government election, you only vote where you are registered. There is no legal facility to vote outside of your ward of registration, and there's a good reason for that requirement. Secondly, we need to focus the country and ensure that all stakeholders, the media needs to prepare. They need to do training, and they need to mobilize resources and allocate accordingly. Same with political parties. They need to finalize their campaign material. They need to finalize candidates and so on. So everybody, all stakeholders will benefit from an early announcement of the date.
It's very important from what you just said in terms of one of the other things that you made quite a big point of earlier today, Mr. Mamabolo, in regard to voter registration weekend, the first of these coming up on the 20th and the 21st of June. And it would seem that your goals for that weekend may be to some degree undermined if we don't know the date. Because if you are planning, well, let me go out on the 20th or the 21st and get my registration done. But if you have some uncertainty about where you're going to be, that may mean that you say, well, look, I don't know, so I'm not going to stand in that particular queue because I don't know which queue I'm going to be in November.
No, certainly. The success or the registration yield arising from the registration weekend will probably be better compared to an instance where the date is unknown.
Yes.
So it would really help that effort for a better registration yield if people knew when the election would be.
I want to turn to something which our news team has been highlighting in bulletins a little bit earlier, Mr. Mamabolo. The very real concerns, and I think the last time we went to the polls really emphasized just how discordant public debate can be, particularly when there are allegations, often unfounded, about failures in the electoral system. The issue of AI, I mean, realistically, is there anything we can do about this? Is there anything you can do about it? I know you're arming yourselves, but it's a very difficult battle to predict what form it will take, I would have thought.
Yes, it's a very difficult call to make in terms of what to expect and the intensity of things that may happen by way of disinformation. But what is clear is that the pervasive use of generative AI provides fertile ground for disinformation and so on, which is why part of our effort is to consider the desirability and the constitutionality of a possible code of conduct on AI and social media. We are consulting with counsel to give us advice really on whether such a thing would be constitutional, and if it is constitutional, what the scope of that should be. But doing nothing is not an option, because doing nothing means the integrity of the whole process might be called to question.
Thank you very much. Very interesting to follow that conversation. Simon Mamabolo, Chief Electoral Officer at the IEC. And that issue has arose in a conversation I had, I think it was at the end of last week, with William Boyd, this in regard to a dispute between the DA and the ANC over an advert, a billboard put up in Johannesburg depicting the Premier of the province, Panyaza Lesufi, dressed for business, not with a jacket, but with a shirt and tie, but standing under a shower. And this in reference to him saying he'd used a hotel for a shower. And that conversation prompted us to talk about whether there might be some initiatives around whether you can use AI-generated images in election material. It seems that the IEC's got some thoughts taking shape on that as well. We'll follow it with a great deal of interest. 21 minutes past 4.
John is on X.
At John Perlman.
Well, one of the many things that President Cyril Ramaphosa spoke about in his State of the Nation address last month would be the creation of a South African national property company. I'm not sure it was a particular headline grabber or even caught your attention, but when you look in detail at the logic behind the creation of this company, there's a lot that I think we should take note of, and that strikes me as very, very interesting indeed. At the moment, government entities pay around 6 billion rand to private landlords. At the same time, government owns 88,000 buildings, not to mention 5 million hectares of land. So is there a way of solving both the problems? Well, the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Dean McPherson, and his team believe that there is a real opportunity here. Let's look at what it might entail. Minister, welcome and thanks very much for giving us your time. I understand that this isn't just aimed at trying to deal with the money that flows out on unnecessary rentals, but you see an enterprise and job creation opportunity in this national property company as well. Kick us off, if you will, talking about that side of the proposition.
Absolutely, John. Thanks for having me. And we've been really hard at work. We've just finalized our business case on it. We presented it to international investors last week, which was very well received, because like us, they see the immense investment opportunity into South African property assets that the government owns that have been underutilized and underinvested in for 30 years. We think just on the initial offering, and what we're working on is about 150 billion rand worth of capital investment into projects ranging from government precincts to new build construction of mixed development, residential and harbour development. And that's substantial. And we can only unlock that if we professionalize and commercialize how we view the state's assets. So the contradiction, as you pointed out in your intro, exists that we spend 6 billion rand a year on private leases, yet we have government buildings sitting empty. And that's just simply because the state cannot afford to take these buildings and assets to A-grade commercial office status. And that's why we think through Triple P's private equity investment, sovereign wealth investment into these assets, and by retaining the ownership of them, we can really create real value, real opportunity and jobs. I mean, I think that there's at least 100,000 jobs on the line to be created just on the government precinct sector alone. So we're working hard at it. It's obviously got a lot of work to do.
Yes.
But we're certainly headed in the right direction.
I mean, you refer to Triple Ps, just for the listeners, public-private partnerships, and that creates opportunity for private enterprise. I would think, though, that the road ahead has some potholes of substantial size, because there are other end entrepreneurs at the moment who make good money. Some people would say, in certain instances, inflated amounts of money, renting space to government departments. You've got quite a political knot to unravel there as well, I would suggest.
Well, I mean, interestingly enough, our research showed that in 1997, government approved a white paper on exactly what we are doing.
Really?
And cabinet agreed to this in 1999. And for reasons that are beyond me, nothing was done about it for 37 years. So we've revived that. We think that on paper it is a good idea. It makes economic sense to us, and it unlocks investment from foreign capital markets that we wouldn't be able to achieve in any other way. So we think that there is political buy-in to it. Obviously, the president wouldn't have announced it if there wasn't buy-in.
Yes.
And we're moving in the right direction. We're going to be holding a number of workshops over the next while, particularly with enterprises like the JSE that can help us structure investment and structure the right platform to be able to build this out. Of course, it's not a short-term overnight plan, but we're working to show substantial progress towards that, and also to show proof of concept by standalone investment opportunities over the next 12 months.
Thanks very much, Dean McPherson, Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. Very interesting project indeed, certainly to my mind, the South African National Property Company. And just to sum up pretty much what I was saying at the beginning, the logic of this is saying at the moment government entities are paying around 6 billion rand to private landlords. At the same time, they oversee and presumably have some sort of ownership of, I'm not sure what the word oversee means there, but they are connected to some 88,000 buildings, an increasing number of which actually stand empty and unused, fall into disrepair and decay. The logic is take the 6 billion rand, not all at once, obviously, because there are existing relationships, and invest that in those buildings and then put them to use as spaces from which government can operate. Be very interesting to see how this works out, and we'll follow it closely.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. Good afternoon. It's Willie here from Discovery. My late brother-in-law used to say, the more I see people, the more I love animals.
Maybe Jonathan Fairbairn will agree with you if you missed his little discussion with us earlier and his singing the praises of Hluhluwe Mfolozi Park. He spent some time there as a guest of the KZN government and its wildlife entity, Izimvelo KZN. But he may well agree with you. Pity he's not here with us. We might ask him that question tomorrow. 28 minutes past 4.
EWN Business.
This EWN Business is brought to you by Volvo. Experience the best of both worlds with plug-in hybrids. Electric when you want it and fuel when you need it. Stephen Curtis, good afternoon.
John, good afternoon. Much better day on markets, mainly because oil prices are down so significantly. They're down to under $92 a barrel at the moment. That's because the US President Donald Trump is sort of suggesting, depending on how you I don't know, understand, translate, use Google AI or something to get to what he was saying last night, suggested that the war in the Middle East could end soon, and that, of course, easing a lot of fears that we would have very high fuel prices, oil prices, for such a long time. That's pushed gold up, interestingly. Platinum slightly higher too. And basically, the idea of how long the war will go on for is probably going to be the main source of volatility in markets for a while. So the JSE recovering quite strongly. It's up 2%, the all share up 2.13, 119,278 points. Up across the board. Financials are up 1.25%, industrials up 2.75%, resources up 2.5% on the day. Process, for example, they're up 7.61. I did check, Tencent were up about 7% in Hong Kong earlier. Naspers also up 6.8. And some of the miners doing nicely. Anglo's up 5.76. And then one or two of the other shares. So Momentum's up 5%. The Foschini Group's up 4.65. Anglo up nearly 6% on the day. But what we are really seeing, I think, is a bit of a recovery. The big losers, of course, as we've seen, are the energy shares. So Thungela losing a lot of the gains they've made over the last few days. They're down 6.39%. Sasol is down 1.44 as well on the day. And Karoo, yesterday's big winner, they're down nearly 5% on the day. Vodacom also down 0.94%. Hyprop had results out today. They're down 1%. They reported their trading density is up by 7.5%. More people are spending more money at their malls. Their tenant turnover is up by 5%, while the property company Attack, they own the Mall of Africa, they're the developers behind Waterfall City, their occupancy increasing to nearly 94% as well. And then Absa, they're down by 1.5% on the day. They did report that their headline earnings have moved up very strongly. The headline earnings are up by 12%, largely from their Africa division, but their corporate and investment banking section playing a very big role in that as well. As we say, the main mover, of course, is oil prices. So in the US, the main indices, subdued was the way Reuters put it. At the moment, they're down 0.57%. The NASDAQ is down 0.05%. The S&P 500 is down 0.29% on the day. Still, it's all going to be about the situation in Iran, John. The gold price, $5,188.94 an ounce. Platinum, stronger, $2,221.60. Brent crude, $91.63 a barrel, the big figure of the moment. The rand improving strongly as well as a result of all of this. So to the dollar now, 16.26. Bear in mind, yesterday it was around 16.60. To the euro, 18.92. To the British pound, 21.87. Stephen Krutis, EWN Business.
Remember when you had to hurry up and wait, and cars could only run on fossil fuels? Well, hurry up and catch up. You don't need diesel power, you just need a second electric motor. With Volvo plug-in hybrids, you can drive electric in the city, switch to fuel for the long haul, or combine both when you want it all. So what are you waiting for? You're late for your test drive. It's safe to be brave with Volvo.
28 minutes to 5. Let's get the very latest eyewitness news with Mbali Dlamini. Another important day at the Madlanga Commission and interesting things coming out of it. Over to you.
That's correct, John. A very good afternoon. Well, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry has revealed that the companies of controversial Northwest businessman Suleiman Karim conduct extensive business with municipalities where he is the ANC's regional treasurer. The Commission says it has traced over 300 million rand in payments between Karim's businesses and those municipalities. Karim serves as the party's money man in the Ngakamudiri Mulemo region, located in his hometown of Mahikeng. He's currently testifying before the Commission on allegations that he used his political influence to sway tenders to his alleged crime cartel boss, Vusumuziket Matala. This includes the irregular 360 million rand SAPS tender that was awarded to Matlala's Medicare 24 company and was later cancelled due to issues of fraud and corruption. Evidence leader Matthew Charleskinson.
The infographics provides a summary of payments from municipalities in the area in respect of which Mr. Karim is the ANC treasurer to companies owned by Mr. Karim. and it gives a breakdown of where the 336 million or 332 million that these municipalities have paid to Mr. Karim, where it comes from.
There are more warnings of massive fuel price hikes in April as a result of the war in the Middle East. KPMG economist Frank Blackmore says petrol may rise by up to R2.80 a litre, while diesel could see a hike of R5. He says that's due to the obstruction of oil supply as well as a weaker rand. Blackmore warns that there could be further increases.
It is possible for fuel prices to increase, as reported over the weekend, up to R8, but that would require a lot further depreciation in the rand, combined with a lot higher oil price at this point.
He adds that the cost of living is also expected to rise.
Fuel prices will impact the movement of all goods and services, and therefore this will be quite broad-based and have an inflationary impact. Currently determined that direct impact is around 1% increase inflation. That puts us around 4.5% for April at this point, and that's an estimate.
Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis has urged the rail agency PRASA to fully investigate alleged gang links to security contracts on the Cape Town Central Line. The railway line was brought to its knees by illegal occupation of the railway tracks as well as infrastructure vandalism since 2019, and it was only recovered last year. A new investigation by Amapungane has revealed how alleged 28's gang boss Ralph Stanfield may have had some influence over security contracts linked to the rebuilding of the railway line. Hill-Lewis is calling on PRASA to suspend any implicated officials pending a full investigation.
We know that this can be done because the city successfully ensured the national blacklisting of over a dozen gang-linked companies following our own investigations. It's important for the state to shut down all potential avenues of funding to gangsterism.
The mayor says the alleged involvement of a senior police official is also concerning.
Even more concerning is the involvement of a senior SAPS official in exerting pressure to contract with these gang-linked companies. And I am writing to the provincial commissioner to ensure that this is looked into and that senior officer's conduct is fully explained and investigated.
And train services between China and North Korea will resume this week. Train journeys between the two nations were halted in 2020 after the imposition of stricter border closures to prevent the COVID-19 pandemic from spreading. North Korea briefly eased restrictions on cross-border travel and allowed a limited number of foreign tour groups to visit the Northeastern Special Economic Zone. Tourists will not be eligible to buy tickets for those trains just yet. A partly cloudy start to Gauteng tomorrow, otherwise becoming fine. Lows of between 9 and 13 degrees and highs of between 24 and 26.
Bryanston heading towards Fourways. Traffic heavily backed up on Grosvenor Road between Bryanston Drive and Leslie Santon. We still have bumper traffic on Catherine Street between Rivonia Road and Greyston Drive. And leaving Germiston heading towards Brakpan. Roadworks in Boksburg causing about a 20-minute delay on the N17 eastbound between Osborne and Rondebolt.
The top story in EWN, the Madlanga Commission has revealed how the companies of controversial Northwest businessman Suleiman Karim conduct extensive business with municipalities where he is the ANC's regional treasurer.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
Forward Brink, City of Johannesburg city manager. We're constantly blaming the politicians for the mess that we see. Are we not letting our officials off the hook?
If you look at the decay of our infrastructure and maintenance, that's not linked to any form of politics. When there's a pothole or when there's water-related issues, people are not interested in what political party is in charge. They would want to see that burst pipe being repaired. Pipes do not ask who is in the coalition. It's not interested in who's now in the caucus. It's got nothing to do with that.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Mzansi, it's raining millions with Powerball and Powerball Plus at 124 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Tuesday. Don't delay. Make it rain lots of cash this March by playing Powerball for 84 million rand and Powerball Plus for 40 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app or cell phone banking. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Baba Black Sheep
Have you any wool? Yes, sir. More than 3 bags full. We think beyond today, tomorrow, more. Look up, look far ahead. We may choose to leave the herd. There's greener grass where fewer care to tread. Bar Black Sheep, proof of what we do. Better for clients for over 20 years. Courage, we hold the course for you. Bar Black Sheep, if you want more wool, it takes black sheep thinking. Camissa Asset Management. Invest different. Camissa Asset Management is a licensed FSP.
Zandi Finga's Hive promo agency was growing fast, but the paperwork was catching up. What were you up against?
Challenges that were slowing down my growth was finding clients as well as organizing the promoter application.
But with Yep for online visibility and Zoho to manage her database, she has turned chaos into a well-honeyed hive.
Get Yep by Telkom Business from 249 Rand per month and Zoho from only 1,260 Rand annually. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
In the conflict in the Middle East, when does this start to have a big impact on our inflation? I suppose it's as simple as saying the day fuel prices go up dramatically.
If you look at the lower end of the market, as soon as those fuel prices go up at the gate, those taxi prices go up immediately. Also, logistics companies, transport costs all go up immediately, and they pass it on to the companies that they do the logistics.
Rose Basis, the head of global emerging markets.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show, Stephen Curtis, is brought to you by ABSA Corporate and Investment Banking. Trade powers Africa's growth, and businesses that succeed are those able to manage risk, optimize liquidity, and move confidently across markets. ABSA Corporate and Investment Banking helps enable your trade flows for growth. ABSA is a registered FSP. T's and C's apply.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. Jasmine from Joburg here. Speaking about your toxic persons in your life, I mean, that can take the form of a toxic boss who is a micromanager. It can be a partner who's a narcissist. It can be a boss who is moody, comes in and just lashes out, and then when they're feeling good, then they expect everybody else just to fall in line. So I mean, having worked since I'm 19, I'm 54 now, I've come across all of them. And the best way, and I've seen my friend dealing with a toxic boss at the moment, the best and only way, because it gets to you, it is into your soul, having to deal with people like that every day, you actually have to lean on your faith and know that only God can upset your calmness and your spirit and your soul. You just have to take a power away from the toxic person because they're all over the place. So yeah, that's the best way, is to lean on your faith, because that's how hectic working and interacting with a toxic person is on a daily basis.
We asked you a little bit earlier about toxic people. This in the light of a study done at New York University saying that extended engagement with toxic people can actually make you age faster. Literally. We're not talking metaphorically saying, this person's going to put me in an early grave or anything like that. Scientific study. You will age faster if you don't deal with these people. 18 minutes to 5.
EWN Sport.
Sundowns in action tonight, looking to defend their title in a year where that's proving tougher than it has for many years yet. Tolakele Mganga has that story and some others too.
Thanks so much, John. And Orbit College will look to put a spanner in the works of the Betway Premiership title race. That's when they host Mamelodi Sundowns this evening. Mswenko boys are unbeaten their last 2 matches and sit in 15th position as they bid to retain their top flight status. For Ziki Nzabaleng and his Brazilian teammates, they join top of the league standings, level on points with Orlando Pirates, who hold the edge on goals scored.
It's just now a matter of getting on the stat sheet, getting a goal, getting an assist, helping the team climb on top of the log and open the gap as much as possible so that we can also do well in the Champions League.
The UEFA Champions League returns this evening with 4 games as the first leg of the last 16 ties takes centre stage. One of those fixtures will see Liverpool up against Galatasaray, which is a game that goalkeeper Alisson will miss through injury. It'll be a special night for manager Arne Slot, who takes charge of his 100th Reds game.
Now, first of all, it makes me really proud that I've become the Liverpool manager. I don't think I have a bad track record in those 100 games, although sometimes you get a different feeling about that if I have to listen to everything. But makes me proud. And it's nice that the 100th game is such a nice game to play. Champions League last 16, away game against Galatasaray.
Tottenham Hotspur take on Atletico Madrid and will hope for a positive result amid a bleak season for last season's Europa League winners. Interim boss Igor Tudor says their Premier League survival fight takes priority over this competition, with Spurs having failed to win any of their last 11 league games since beating Crystal Palace in December.
Always after the game, we need to be focused on us to grow. It can be opportunity. Total different mentality aspect can be used in this kind of the game. So maybe this can help us seeing which problems we have. This kind of games can help us to switch in the right way, but always focus on us to grow as a team, to do the things better.
And Jayden Null will join the Springboks 7 squad in the USA today ahead of the 6th and final HSBC Sevens tournament of the regular 2026 season. The utility forward replaces Christy Grobler, who picked up a knee injury in Vancouver last weekend and was ruled out of selection. For the New York leg of the series this weekend, the Blitzboks have been drawn with New Zealand, France and Australia in Pool A. Tholakele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Right, let's get you home. Let's find out what's happening on the roads. At 16 minutes to 5, Karabochali, I believe, Midrand is getting a little tight.
Yeah, that's heading towards the Centurion area. Expect some delays on the N1 northbound between the Bacloon Change and New Road. Bryanston, also heavy delays on Grosvenor Road between Bryanston Drive and Leslie. That's if you're heading towards Four Ways in Sandton. This is traveling towards Midrand. Expect about a 20-minute delay. M1 northbound from Ethel Oaklands to the Bacloon Interchange. Leaving Germiston heading towards Brakpan. Roadworks in Boksburg, Sunwood Park, still causing about a 20-minute delay. On the N17 eastbound from Osborne to Rondebold. Kempton Park, there's slow-moving traffic on Zierfontein Road between Green Avenue and Modderfontein Road, and in Eastland, Pretoria. This is traveling towards Montana. Bumper-to-bumper traffic. N1 northbound from the Proof Plus interchange all the way to the N4. For the latest traffic updates, you can also follow us on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
702 Drive. Well, because we're in radio, we use lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of words. I've just used quite a few in telling you this very simple and basic fact. But we were chatting a little bit earlier about some words that we just find hard to say. Now, that could be a pronunciation issue, a word that just gets stuck on your tongue. And then there are words that you get confused by. I've got a couple of them, one in particular. And then, bizarrely in my case, there are some words I just don't like saying, which we'll get to a little bit later. But Rifue Letsua, you brought this up. Words we don't like saying. Or it might have been Karabochali, but who was it? Okay, it was you. You go first. Again. What words you struggle with for whatever reason?
So I've got two words that I struggle with, and I try my very best not to say, because I just don't get it right. I've been on Google with, please help me pronounce this, and it's just, I know Ziakal, it's not great. So the first one, please don't laugh, guys, this is a safe space. Is it Worcestershire sauce? I always call it like Worcestershire sauce. Worcester. Sometimes I say Worcester. Is it Worcester?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, at least Worcester. Worcester. Okay.
Worcestershire is a county in England,
Yeah,
and I think maybe the
sauce.
first
Apparently
bottles were
there's a
made
sauce
there.
called Worcestershire
I've
sauce.
Anyway, as long as the waiter knows.
They know. And then there's also chivalry.
Chivalry.
Don't show off. That one.
Try and be chivalrous. Chivalry.
Hey.
So,
you laugh, but this is serious.
I mean, I can see that you need to use Worcestershire sauce, but how often would you need to use the word chivalry?
Because you want to sound intelligent and
You
throw
sound
on
intelligent,
words
more
and
than
be like,
intelligent.
I also know how to
trust
say
me.
that word, even if you don't know.
Okay. We've got two so far. How about you, Karabochali? Words that you battle with.
I'm glad I'm not a newsreader, because I would definitely stumble all the time on. Okay, let me concentrate on saying this word. Statistician.
There we go.
Ne?
Statistician. There we go.
100%. I had to really think
Statistician.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there'll be a long pause in my bulletin for me to get it right. So
Okay.
I admire newsreaders for just easing
Being
through
able
it.
to just
Yeah.
ease through. Statistician. I mean, I always mix up ambiguous and ambivalent. And you're going to ask me now, what is ambiguous? Let me just be absolutely clear. Ambivalent means I'm not sure whether I want to do this thing or not, for example. And I almost always, when I feel ambivalent, I say ambiguous. And ambiguous is where the meaning is unclear. And for some reason, I really don't like saying the word porridge. And I eat oats every morning.
That's
but
bizarre.
It's completely bizarre. I mean, I don't hate it. I don't break out in a rash. But, well, not recently. But I don't like saying the word porridge, which is why I eat oats. So there can be no ambivalence. What? Ambiguity about that. Tola Kelly is sort of looking at us and saying, what are these people on about? Or you're just collecting your thoughts?
We've had the conversation so many times in the newsroom where we're all constantly looking for a synonym because all of us hate a word.
Yes.
Mine is preliminary.
Yes.
I even slow it down when I say it because if I say it fast, there's no way. I remember once we were running a story and then one of the anchors was like Mainstream. And then we had to like, babes, it's minestrone.
Yes.
And they were like,
Really?
since when do we start saying it like that? And I'm like, babes, that's just how it's said now. So it's like, it'll be little things because how you grow up, certain words are said.
Yeah.
Then you get on the radio and then people are calling the station and telling you that your anchor doesn't know. Oh, and another one, Tanzania versus Tanzania. There's a guy who once sent a voice note about that. I had to go to my editor to get like final approval on how it's said.
Which is it?
Tanzania.
Tanzania. Okay.
Yeah.
I've just remembered now when I started at 702, I got quite a hard time because of the way I said, and now I'm not even sure which is the right one. Issue and issue. Which is it? Because I eventually I got told so many times I was doing it wrong that I forgot what it was I was doing wrong.
So, John, because you say issue,
Yes.
Mongezi Koko has started saying it.
Oh, no.
So every time he says it, we yell at him and we say, just stick to
Issue. I'll do my level. And Mongezi must fix his own problem.
Agreed.
Sorry, till I get it. Sorry, quick. What is Mainstream again?
Minestrone.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Minestrone. Let's go.
All right.
Wow.
Here we go. Okay. An alphabet soup that we find ourselves in. Words that you either don't like saying or you struggle to say, or you, as you say them, as in my case with ambiguous, ambivalent, as soon as you start saying it, you realize that you're not very sure which of the two words captures the meaning you are trying to convey. Give us a call on 011-883-0702. This person, no name, says, yeah, Tola Kelly is onto something with preliminary. Laugh out loud. Give us a call on 011-883-0702 or voice note. We are, after all, talking about words. Maybe you can capture it better in your own words and your own sound. It's 9 minutes now to 5.
Drive home with John Perlman
On 702, let's walk the talk.
Well, here at Prime Media and on 702 in particular, we've been having a huge amount of fun with MasterChef. It's on every Sunday night on ETV at 6 p.m. and on various shows. You would have heard Bongani starting early in the mornings, particularly on a Monday, talking to contestants who have been gone on to the show but haven't managed to retain their place. We spoke to Justine Drake, who's one of the long-standing judges and plays other roles on the show as well. We were chatting a little bit earlier, though, and I was saying, who actually comes up with the ideas for the show? Because we focused on contestants and judges and some degree on food, but this doesn't all happen randomly. You don't get somebody simply coming along and saying, oh, well, today let's do this or that. It's carefully thought out, it's carefully planned, and it's all structured around a thread that runs through the season. And this is, after all, season 6. So we thought we'd talk to somebody who is actually the director of the show MasterChef. And for that reason, we welcome to 702 Drive, Jeff Butler. Jeff, very good afternoon to you, and thanks for giving us your time.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me.
So when you're putting together an episode, what are you looking at? I mean, obviously the food elements have to be interesting. The challenges have to be challenging. And then you've got a whole lot of interesting personalities out of whom you're trying to get the best television, but also give them the best shot. it's a lot of balls to juggle. How do you do it?
It is. I think the main thing is the MasterChef framework has all of these mechanisms like the mystery box challenge, where
Right.
you've got a few hidden secret ingredients that you've got to cook. There's the invention test where you've got to create a dish based on a particular theme, or there's the pressure test where you've got to replicate a dish from a guest chef. Then there's the team challenges, which are generally the service challenges, where you've got to create a high volume of food for guests. And then, of course, there are the challenges that are hung on sponsors.
Yes.
So, for example, we've got Lucky Star this season. We've got Biscoff. We've got macadamia nuts. So those are sort of the frameworks. And then Justine Drake, whom I believe you've already spoken to.
Yes,
She
yes.
is obviously one of the judges. She was our content producer for this season. So sort of new ground for her for the series, and she's been fantastic. So her biggest thing is obviously she's leaning into heritage, obviously our multicultural heritage, and a big thing is obviously edutainment, education, and entertainment. So, for example, you would have seen on the promos, the next week's episode is nose to tail. So there's a huge educational factor in terms of how do you basically eat an animal from nose to tail. So, learning about that, but then obviously from entertainment perspective, for some people there couldn't be anything more horrific.
Yes.
So it's that.
It doesn't mean you have to eat the nose or the tail. You're just giving us or do we? Oh my! Well, we'll find out on Sunday. Dear Lord.
Yeah, it's zero waste. It's zero waste. You've got to eat everything.
Yes. It's interesting though, Jeff. How do you know? Because obviously you work on concepts and you as you say there is a structure. But while you're busy working with the contestants and gathering the material that's eventually going to make its way to our TV screens at 6:00 on Sunday, do you know when it's flying? And are there moments, for example, where you say, okay, this is not quite turning out as we expected. We may have to tweak it.
That happens every single time, pretty much. There's the MasterChef format holders, Banijay, always say, trust the format. You can plan every little minutia, but obviously it's reality and things go awry. And also what I've noticed that there's a bit of a different experience being on set and watching things unfold.
Right.
And then seeing it translate in the edit suite. That's a whole, it's almost like directing for the second time. So you almost have these two worlds colliding once you get into post-production.
How much is the show in your minds? I mean, everybody will form their own conclusions and share with us, as they do from time to time, what it is they like about the show. How much of it is about food and how much of it is about the relationships that unfold when people are making food under pressure?
I think what makes this season particularly good for me is the relatability factor.
Right.
You've got contestants that are relatable from every walk of life, from every culture. We've featured everyone, I think, from every single province this season. I think it's the relatability factor, and obviously food is unifying culturally. So, I think we all relate to the person who's under pressure, who's doing this for their grandmother who's passed away, and they're working with a recipe, or they need that cash prize for whatever backstory there is. I think it's more about the human emotions, but at the same time, it's also about excelling and delivering something which is, obviously, world class from a food perspective.
Well, I mean, absolutely. So far, so good on all those counts. But just a last one. I mean, you guys are as much in the thick of it as the contestants, and it is competitive on the one hand. On the other, you're all human, dealing with other humans who are doing something they've never done before. Resisting the temptation to put an arm around someone, is that hard?
It's extremely difficult. There's so much. There's tears, there's wailing, there's sobbing, and that's just the crew in the control room. We absolutely get attached. We get 100% attached to the contestants, but obviously we're there to tell their story the best way it can be told, and for that you've got to be objective.
Jeff Butler, thank you very much. MasterChef is on every Sunday, ETV at 6 p.m. We thought we'd get a little bit behind the scenes, and it's been wonderful hearing from Jeff, not just what's coming up and what's been done already, but the kind of thinking that goes into every episode. Don't miss it. Sunday nights, as I said, ETV at 6 p.m.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9. We've been keeping an eye on developments in terms of the war, but many South Africans may feel it's very, very far away. It's not quite that simple, is it?
No, definitely not, particularly when it comes to a resource that we don't produce locally and we have to source from abroad.
Tell me about the Straits of Hormuz.
That's a passage, a very narrow passage, in which a fair chunk of oil that moves globally passes through. If that is interrupted in any way, it will make it difficult for crude oil to be transported to its various refining locations.
What does it mean for us?
It would imply an inability to refine at a rate that matches our consumption rate. But key here, how long is this going to persist for? In addition to that, how quickly are we burning through our reserves?
Bobby Ramagwede, the CEO of the Automobile Association.
Bongani Bingwa,
6 to 9.
On 702.
With Outsurance, saving on your car insurance feels like finding money in that jacket you forgot about. 27-year-old Liam saves an awesome 640 Rand on his 2020 Ford Ranger. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP, TCs and information online.
Do you remember the promise Nelson Mandela made to our country's children that they would grow up with dignity, protection, and hope? This Human Rights Month, we honor that promise as the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund marks 30 years of changing how society treats its children. In 2026, we celebrate a legacy that still calls on all of us to care, uplift, and make every child's future brighter, and to follow his example by loving children the Nelson Mandela way. The Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, celebrating 30 years of impact. Learn more at nelsonmandelachildrensfund.com.
You're now listening to 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
This is EWN.
Police raid the homes of businessmen Calvin Matibedi, and Madlanga Commission hears of millions exchanged between tenderpreneurs. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Police have recovered documents and gadgets at the home of controversial businessman Calvin Matibedi in Durban North. Matibedi was recently ordered by the Durban High Court to retract statements that he made about KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, alleging that he is corrupt. Today, investigators raided several of his properties across the country. A number of police vehicles and heavily armed tactical officers were spotted outside one of his Durban properties. The 37-year-old is the owner and CEO of the Calvin and Family Group, which has been in business for over 19 years with 10 business subsidiaries under it. Controversial Northwest businessman Suleiman Karim insists he did not authorize a more than 2 million rand payment from one of his companies to Vusimuzi Kat Matlala's Medicare 24. Evidence leaders at the Madlanga Commission revealed today that Karim did not disclose two payments that he made to Medicare. These payments were over and above the 10 million rand that Karim says he loaned to Medicare 24. Tabiso Koba has more.
Medicare 24, which is owned by alleged tender fraudster Vusimuzi Kat Matlala, won a 360 million rand tender from SABS in June 2024. However, that tender was later cancelled due to fraud and corruption allegations. It was revealed today at the Madlanga Commission Suleiman Karim paid 2.1 million rand to Medicare 24 in the same year that he didn't disclose to the Commission.
So somebody inside your organization took it upon themselves to pay 1 million rands of your company's money without your knowledge or consent.
Yes,
I'm confused. Hence, I said to my legal team that I need to get hold of my office. I need to get the people in my office and find out exactly who authorized that payment, because my instructions were very clear. My investment was 10 million.
Karim has wrapped up his testimony for today and will be back on the 16th of April. Thabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
Acting Deputy National Police Commissioner Hilda Sintumule has accused Shadrack Sibia of spreading falsehoods about having a medical procedure paid for by Vusimuzi Matlala. Sintumule says she was deeply offended by Sibia's claims that Matlala paid for her cosmetic surgery. She says she is now pursuing civil and criminal charges against Sibia. Sintumule has been giving evidence today before Parliament's ad hoc committee, which is probing allegations of police corruption. Babalondenze reports.
Suspended Deputy National Commissioner Shadrack Sibia testified before the Malanga Commission earlier this year that Hilda Sintumule benefited from alleged crime kingpin Vusimuzi Matlala. Sibia said that Matlala not only sponsored the police with Sintumule's knowledge, he also paid for her cosmetic surgery. But a clearly frustrated Sintumule again denied the claims, saying she paid for her own procedure.
I wish to submit to this committee that it is rather gravely unfortunate that I have to respond to this. And for me, I must say, Mr. Matlala, you can trace the money that I paid for my procedures.
She says she will be acting against Sibia.
Two processes that I'm pursuing. One is legal and the one is criminal.
Sintumule says she will provide feedback to the committee about her case in due course. Her evidence continues. Babalondenze, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
The Electoral Commission says an early announcement of the official date for the local government elections would make its preparations for the highly anticipated polls much easier. Cooperative Governance Minister Vilenkosini Hlabisa has yet to confirm the date for the municipal elections. Those elections must take place between the 1st of November this year and the 1st of February next year. Speaking at a media briefing in Centurion today, IEC Chief Electoral Officer Saim Mababolo says the sooner the date is announced, the better.
The Commission's position is that an early announcement of an election date is critical to allow South Africans to decide where they will be on voting day, as this determines directly where they are required to register.
Mamabolo further expands on the importance of an early announcement of the official date.
For instance, a student studying in one province but ordinarily resident in another must know whether they will be on campus or at home when the country votes. That clarity ensures they register correctly and avoids unnecessary administrative complications closer to election date.
And in Denmark, the Danish Supreme Court has heard arguments in a case that accuses the country of exporting weapons to Israel. 4 prominent organizations took legal action to stop exports of weapons and military equipment to Israel. The organizations want the courts to assess whether the exports violate the rules on arms trade. Gold is trading at $5,204.41 an ounce. The rand is at 16.32 to the dollar, 21.96 to the pound, 18.99 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $92.50 a barrel.
In the city of Tshwane, bumper-to-bumper traffic in Eastland heading towards Montana. This is on the N1 northbound between the Proefplaas interchange and the N4. Groenkloof, traffic sluggish on George Storer Drive between Tutoy and the Fountain Circle, and in Bryanston heading towards Fourways, expect some delays N1 southbound between the Patru interchange and Winnie Mandela Drive.
In your sport, Mamelodi Sundowns looking to keep the title pressure on Orlando Pirates with victory over Orbit College tonight. Hansi Flick warns Barcelona of Newcastle threat ahead of their UEFA Champions League test, and Gary Woodland discusses his PTSD diagnosis following brain surgery.
A partly cloudy start to the day in Gauteng tomorrow, otherwise becoming fine. Johannesburg drops to an overnight low of 12 degrees, peaking at 24. Pretoria 13 and 26, and Vereeniging a low of 9 and a high of 25 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: police have recovered documents and gadgets at the home of controversial businessman Calvin Matibedi in Durban North this afternoon.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 8 minutes past 5. Great to have you with us on the show. Coming up, high petrol prices are bad enough, but what if there was actually some kind of shortage of fuel, diesel, petrol in the country? And imagine further if the shortage was so severe that we had to have some sort of system of rationing. Does anybody even know where to start? This is not imminent, but it's also not impossible. And we're going to talk about it because people who are in this sector are actually talking about it themselves and raising some questions that we, at the very least, need to be aware of and maybe even need to get our heads around. Peter Morgan is CEO of the Liquid Fuels Wholesalers Association. He's our guest coming up shortly on 702 Drive. And then something that's much, much further away, I think, in terms of a threat, but nevertheless also something we might end up talking about more and more in the months and years to come. In some parts of the world already, people are taking creators of artificial intelligence tools like ChatGPT to court, saying the output of something like ChatGPT when they were seeking advice and direction on how to do something led them to do something that was destructive to them. I would have thought that you wouldn't have a prayer in court, but it would seem I am completely wrong. If you go and do something based on artificial intelligence, I would have thought that one's on you. Not so, says Dario Milo, partner at Weber Wenzel, the eminent law firm here in Johannesburg. We'll talk to Dario Milo at about 20 minutes past 5. A little bit earlier, we were talking about words that we struggle with, either because we don't like saying them or we struggle to pronounce them, or we're not sure what they mean, and we end up choosing between two words and mangling both. This is what some of you had to say about your own word difficulties.
702. WhatsApp John
On 072
702
1702.
Hey, okay, just having a little bit of difficulty with your version of your words and your word stories. Small tech problem. We'll get that sorted out in a moment. Let's do the traffic in the meanwhile.
EWN Traffic.
EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. And you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. You'd think people would be speeding around in a place called Jet Park, but that's certainly not the case, as Karabo will explain to you now.
Yeah, that's heading into Boksburg coming from Kempton Park. Traffic pressure in Jet Park, R21 southbound. That's Rietfontein Road between Griffiths and East Rand Mall. Leaving Germiston heading towards Brakpan. Roadwork still causing more than a 20-minute delay on the N17 eastbound from Osborne to Rondebowl to Kempton Park. Expect some delays on Zierfontein Road between Green Avenue and Modderfontein Road. While in Sandton, that's heading towards Midrand. Expect about a 20-minute delay. M1 northbound from Ethel Oakland all the way to the Bacloon interchange. While in Bryanston, you can still expect some delays on Grosvenor Road between Cumberland and Leslie. Still in Bryanston, heading towards Four Ways, there's slow-moving traffic. N1 southbound between the Bacloon interchange and Winnie Mandela Drive. In the city of Tshwane, Eastland, traveling towards Montana, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic. N1 northbound from the Proof Plus interchange to the N4. And finally in Groenkloof, there's slow-moving traffic. This is on George Storer Drive between Tutoy and the Fountain Circle. For the latest traffic updates, you can also follow us on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You know that feeling when you flip the duvet and magically find the TV remote? That's how good it feels, seeing the Outsurance pointsmen on your route. Everyone breathes a little easier knowing the Outsurance pointsmen are on the roads. They've been easing the traffic congestion so everyone gets where they need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In proud partnership with 702, show them some love online using #PointsmenLove. Licensed insurer and FSP.
Driving the conversation on 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Powered by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
There's also a question we've been getting around, and I know you've dealt with this as an organization, the allegations that came linking Sizekaya to the Deputy President, Paul Mashatile. Are you worried about how that somehow puts the credibility of the organization at risk? How have you dealt with it?
Once again, I think within the context of everything that's happening in South Africa, we can't be numb to the noise, right? But I can assure South Africans at large that we are in no way politically tainted, politically favored, and we truly believe that this was at the back of a strong, very, very strong and excellent value proposition that we put forward.
Clement Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
On the go and your stomach suddenly not keeping up, that burn, bloating or reflux could be symptoms of an ulcer. Stress can make it feel even worse. Ulcernic offers triple action relief by coating your stomach lining with a protective layer and works for up to 6 hours. No prescription needed. Choose between suspension tablets or effervescent tablets. Keep an eye on the shelf for Ulcernic's new packaging. A fresh new look outside, same trusted relief on the inside. Visit the Ulcernic Facebook page for more.
Let's hear from Shemaine, owner of Vovotello Linwood, why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance.
I wish we had switched sooner. Not only was it quick and easy, but also gave us more favourable premiums.
For restaurants, pharmacies, and all other businesses. Get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 5:15. Nervy times around the oil price, around the availability of oil, but there are some concerns that we may need to get our head around the possibility that we may not have enough fuel in South Africa to meet demand. And that, of course, raises questions and the real spectre of possible rationing of fuel. Now, we're not trying to be alarmist, but we do think it's always wise to at least get ahead of an issue and try and lay out some of the parameters of what could happen in a worst-case scenario. Peter Morgan is CEO of the Liquid Fuel Wholesalers Association and joins us now on 702 Drive. Mr. Morgan, welcome, and thanks very much for your time. Who's keeping track of whether we have enough fuel to meet the needs and knowable demands of South Africans for fuel? Is that something government does? Is it something you guys do? Who's watching the clock? Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you. That's a very good question. You know, if you start talking about rationing and things like that, we're talking about security of supply.
Right.
And it's all about the fact that, you know, the crude oil is not getting through the straits at the moment. Therefore, the price is spiking terribly. Now, we have a regulated industry in South Africa. So when we start talking about spiking prices, we need to think through the lens that says regulated industry. One of our concerns is that, you know, we don't appear to be in crisis mode. When I talk about we, the discussions that we aren't having with the department at the moment, I believe we should be having. You know, as far as we're concerned, we should have a contingency plan. We should have been talking about this 3 weeks ago when the possibility came about, you know, because we can talk about crude oil and where our reserves are. But, you know, we have refineries at the moment that are not working, that we're importing majority of our fuel as finished product. So, you know, as an example of what can go wrong is that if you've got crude oil in Saldanha at the moment that has a pipeline into the Cape Town refinery, it's really not strategic stock because that refinery is actually on annual shutdown this month.
Yes.
So we're saying, you know, guys, we should have finished product. Where, when, how. Let's agree on how many days. Let's agree on who's going to pay for that. And let's agree that when something like this happens, you know, immediately the plan must kick in and we must start giving some security to investors. Importing product into South Africa, and we have independent wholesalers that are doing it,
yes,
is a risky business. It's a hugely expensive business. And sometimes you feel that you're standing on the precipice, and you actually don't have that comfort that you need to be able to plan going into the future.
So, Mr. Morgan, if I'm hearing you right, two things are leaving you very, very concerned. The one is that nobody is coordinating a national response, and there is no other way to do it. Otherwise, I would imagine you can have pricing mayhem, but you could also have significant security issues around major fuel depots and so on. The other is that we actually don't have a dashboard where somebody is able to say, this is how much we've got, this is what we consume in a week, or whatever the relevant measure of consumption would be, because some days are different to others, some months are different to others, I would assume. But without a dashboard and without a coordinating structure, these are edgy times.
These are very edgy times. And I'll give an example of why I say that. Illuminating paraffin is sold in South Africa to the poorest of the poor for cooking and heating.
Right.
It's that simple. Currently, there's a fixed maximum price that you can sell illuminating paraffin into the market, and it's set by the department themselves. I have seen correspondence this week that says that people are being told to buy paraffin at a lot more expensive than the maximum selling price is into the market. That's not a sustainable business model. So what's going to happen to that? We must go back one step. South Africa has changed.
Yes.
The whole of the value chain is very different to what it was. We have refineries that are closed, as we've talked about. Lots of things have happened, and we haven't kept up to speed with. And you talk about a dashboard. I think that's really what's in my mind. That says we should have it, so when it hits the fan, we can turn it on. For industry associations, the department, we can get together and say we all know what our role is. Let's make sure we can do it and stick to it. So we don't have these moments of crisis panic that says, what the hell is going to happen next week? We should have a nice roadmap that tells us where we're going to.
Thank you so much. Peter Morgan is CEO of the Liquid Fuel Wholesalers Association. And I must admit, that's very challenging stuff he's putting out there. We will pick up on this story most definitely. I suspect some of the other shows on 702 might do that as well. But I think it's absolutely crucial that we start getting Minerals and Energy on, and other role players who are involved in this space. We asked you earlier about words that you struggle with. Let's hear a few.
Good afternoon, John and the team. John, talk about words, and I'm going to try say it slowly again this time around, is preposterous. Preposterous, because if I say it a little bit faster, trying to sound, a little bit smarter, I tend to embarrass myself. So the word preposterous, tends to dribble me a bit. Joel from Kempton Park, have a splendid afternoon.
Hi, John. About the Tanzania debacle, I once worked with a woman who was from Tanzania, and she called it Tanzania. She said Tanzania, and she was from Tanzania. So I therefore followed her. I think it's, follow the people whose country it's from. I then Googled it to see what is the correct way of saying it. And the general consensus online that I could see was that both ways of saying it are acceptable. So you can either say Tanzania or Tanzania. Both are fine.
Hi, Uncle John. Don't make an issue out of a tissue. It's fine. Say it the way you want it. Thanks, Priska.
Hi, John. The word that irritates me most when other people say it, and it's such a commonly used word, is determine. We will determine whether we're going to determine. Really?
Yeah, there's so many words that trip people up. Peter says impossible words that source from the Shire in Worcestershire. I also don't order it a great deal. Worcestershire sauce. There we go. I think I can do that. By the way, I did say I think that's where it was invented, and indeed it was the first half of the 19th century, so it's a while ago. It's been a generic term since 1876, and it was invented by two people, both pharmacists, actually, John Wheely Lee and William Henry Perrins. So you may, I'm sure, sometimes have seen your sauce, which is manufactured under the brand Lee and Perrins. This one puzzles me. Lauren says, is the T silent in often? And then it says, news anchors, including John Perlman, pronounce the T. Really? I don't think I say often. If I do, it's certainly not often. Anyway, all right, I'll listen out closely. I'm pretty sure I don't. Often, often. There we go. Words that we struggle with. Give us a call on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. Just a quick question. We're struggling to get hold of Dario Milo to talk about that ChatGPT AI lawsuit issue, which I think is very, very interesting indeed. We'll keep on calling him. But in the meanwhile, I'm keen to know, if you run a filling station, work at a filling station, work in the fuels industry, are you starting to get a little nervous and having some concern about whether we're going to be able to get sufficient fuel into the country? It's not just petrol, by the way. Earlier, we heard very important points made by Peter Morgan around illuminating paraffin, and he made very, very clear how central this is in the lives regarding both cooking, heating, and possibly lighting as well for poorer South Africans. 702 Drive, 25 minutes past 5.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
So, ChatGPT is just one of a number of tools you can use to get AI to help you either answer some questions or create information for something you might be publishing or sharing. And some people may be turning to ChatGPT for advice. All sounds well and good. We've talked about issues of plagiarism and the impact this might have on people's thinking skills and creativity, but now there could be legal issues as well. This has been highlighted by the South African law firm Weber Wenzel, who have focused on the fact that this is already finding its way into courts in the United States and Australia. So how does this happen? What are the issues? Dario Milo is a partner at Weber Wenzel and member of the team's AI specialist team. Mr. Milo, welcome, and thanks very much for giving us your time. Under what kind of circumstances might this end up in court? I mean, surely I get that if I publish something about somebody based on material I derived from AI, that could be a basis for defamation. But how would it be different to something that has merely come up in the form of, for example, an unsubstantiated rumor?
Hi, John. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and hello to your listeners as well. Yes, it's interesting, of course, because we apply the existing common law rules to AI as a platform. And in a way, it's the same story as always. Law is quite a bit behind technology, whether it was broadcast technology or internet and now AI. So what you got to say is, if someone has published something that is defamatory of another person, then there are consequences in law. If you go against the person, the journalist or someone else who's used the unverified AI output, of course, as you say, that is a classic sort of defamation case. But you can also sue the platform, just as you can sue social media platforms for hosting content that is defamatory. You could sue the AI platform for creating the fictitious output in the first place. And I think that's the interesting development, if you like, or application of the law to the AI scenario.
So how would that be different to a lawsuit against a journalist who may argue, for example, public interest and whatever else is in the arsenal of defenses for journalists who are taken to court where people say have been defamed? I mean, what defense might an AI platform offer, and is it holding up in some of the domains I've mentioned, the US and Australia?
Yeah, I mean, there's only one main case so far, because although there have been a number of other litigation activities, most of them settle with the AI platforms removing the content and apologizing, and in one case even appointing the victim to an advisory board to advise the AI company on bias and disinformation. But the case that has been decided in the United States, which is Walters against ChatGPT or OpenAI, its owner, was one won by the platform. And the American arguments that succeeded there, and I'm afraid they wouldn't succeed for platforms here as easily, is firstly because the platform had put out a number of disclaimers saying, be careful about the output. We can't guarantee the truth of it.
Yes.
And secondly, because in America, if you're a public figure, if you're Donald Trump and you sue for defamation, you've got to prove a lot more than the ordinary individual. You've got quite a high burden of proof, what we call actual malice. So for those two main reasons, the court there said, in a summary judgment, ChatGPT wasn't liable to the plaintiff. In South Africa, it would be different because we don't have that high threshold approach. Secondly, disclaimers are one factor that you take into account, but they certainly are not, as we say in an article I've written with a colleague of mine, Leah Wheeler, it's not a magic wand that will, magically do away with your liability.
Right.
It's one of the many factors. And I think in South Africa, platforms, and of course we haven't got law on this yet, but platforms would probably be held to a reasonableness standard. What the courts would do is they would say to a platform like ChatGPT, what systems and processes did you have in place to verify the accuracy of the output? And of course, AI systems might get more, better and better at verifying. But at the moment, we know many examples, of course, where there is hallucination that takes place. And of course, these cases that you've mentioned are good examples of that.
Thank you so much, Dario Milo. The brave new world of AI and all the possible consequences that might flow from that. He is a partner at Weber Wenzel and a member of the firm's AI specialist team in dispute resolution. 702 Drive.
EWN Business.
Let's get down to business with Stephen Curtis. Good afternoon.
John, good afternoon. Well, the oil price, liquid gold, dropping below $90 a barrel in the last hour or so, and that having a big impact on markets around the world. The main reason, of course, Trump's comment last night that he thought that the war in Iran was nearly over. Iran, of course, has a very different view on that, by the way. They disagree very strongly, so very hard to know exactly what's going to happen, and it's the lack of knowing what's going to happen that is causing so much of the uncertainty. But the rand is stronger to the dollar, gold and platinum prices are up, and that means the JSE All Share up by nearly 2.5%, up 2.42% on the day, 119,607 points. Financials are up 1.64%, industrials are up 3.23%, resources are up 2.71% on the day. A lot of recovery, kind of a semi-recovery, if you like. A lot of it to do with foreign firms, I must just say. So Prosus and Naspers up by around 8% on the day. Tencent was much stronger as well in Hong Kong earlier. Anglo up 6%. Implats and Northern both up by over 5%. And Momentum, the financial services firm, they're up 5.26%, while the Foschini Group is up 4.85%. The energy companies, which had really gained strongly during this crisis, they've dropped off quite strongly. So Thungela down 7.58% on the day. Sasol down 1.88%. A few results out. Attack, the property company, they're ending the day down 1.57%, despite reporting that the Waterfall City has increased their occupancy, that their distributable income per share is up by over 5%. We'll in fact speak to their chief financial officer on the Money Show, John. We'll ask him all the important questions, like why is parking at the Mall of Africa so complicated? I know someone who just refuses to go there because they can never find their car. Another property company, Hyprop, they own Hyde Park, their trading density up by 7.5%. People spending more money at their malls. Their distributable income up by nearly 13%, and turnover up by 5% on the day. And then Telkom is down 1.3%, and Pick n Pay down 1.22%. ABSA, perhaps the big share reporting today, they're down 1.27%. They did say their headline earnings are up very strongly. They're up by over 12%, John. We'll speak to their CEO, Kenny Fechler, on the Money Show. I might ask him if he's done poaching, because, there have been so many people who sort of strangely, curiously moved from Standard Bank to ABSA just after he did exactly the same thing. I'm sure you've seen the same in, football teams and things, John. In the US, it was a tentative open because of oil prices. Then there was a kind of slight bump, but now things seem to be turning negative again. The Dow Jones down 0.57, the Nasdaq down 0.05, and the S&P 500 down 0.29. The gold price $5,212.61, platinum $2,230.70, Brent crude $88.45 a barrel. And then the rand, much stronger, 16.21 to the dollar, 18.88 to the euro, and 21.82 to the British pound. So Kenny Fickler on your radio. We'll speak also, quite looking forward to this actually, to the Deputy Reserve Bank Governor, Fundi Chazibana, and there's been a big climate risk conference underway at the moment. We'll focus on that with her. I'll see if I can slip in a question about the sort of markets that we're seeing at the moment. I know she'll keep her cards close to her chest, as she said, as she should. And the ITAC Commissioner, Ayabonga Chawe, as well. It looks like he's going to get a lot more power. Best I be polite to him. Stephen Grotus, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. 26 minutes to 6, the latest news. Mbali Dlamini.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. The city of Ekurhuleni is urging Edenvale residents to steer clear of the building of an auto spares shop which caught fire earlier today. It says there is a chance the building could collapse further. Earlier, a blaze ripped through the entire building, causing the roof to cave in. Employees managed to evacuate the building with no injuries, but 2 firefighters were injured when a wall collapsed on them. Ekurhuleni Emergency Service spokesperson William Ndladi says the firefighters are still trying to contain that blaze.
Don't know what is the actual cause of the fire, but we can confirm that there is an extensive damage to the structure itself.
Gauteng Finance MEC Lebogang Maile has reiterated the importance of infrastructure investment for long-term economic growth and improving service delivery. Delivering the provincial budget speech, Maile says 36.4 billion rand has been allocated towards infrastructure over the medium term. He says the province will rely on public-private partnerships in order to maximize resources.
We have lots of pressures in our fiscals, and we have no choice but to ensure that we fast-track these and ensure that we attract a lot of private sector investment. We are very serious and we're making sure that these triple Ps succeed.
The KwaZulu-Natal Finance Department says it's concerned about the impact of foot and mouth disease on its economy and jobs within the agricultural sector. Finance MEC Francois Rogers tabled the provincial budget in the legislature in Pietermaritzburg today. KZN is the epicenter of the foot and mouth outbreak with over 200 confirmed cases. Rogers told the House the disease has jeopardized food security as well as trade.
The FMD outbreak is threatening livelihoods, having caused losses in revenue for the agricultural sector, while there have also been export and trade disruptions, higher operational costs for the farmers, rising food prices, to name but a few.
And in the UK, a 43 billion rand class action lawsuit is underway accusing Japanese entertainment giant Sony of breaching competition laws by allegedly overcharging millions of UK PlayStation users. The claimants argue that Sony has excluded competition and imposed excessive charges on digital games sold through its PlayStation store for nearly a decade. According to the claimants, the game Assassin's Creed Shadows is sold on the PlayStation store for nearly 1,500 rand, roughly double the price of the physical edition at local UK retailers. A partly cloudy start to Gauteng tomorrow, otherwise becoming fine. Lows of between 9 and 13 degrees and highs of between 24 and 26.
City of Tshwane, you can expect about a 20-minute delay in Eastland heading towards Montana. That's the N1 northbound from Linwood Road to the N4. Bryanston also about a 20-minute delay. This is on Grosvenor Road between Cumberland and Leslie. And in Sandton, bumper-to-bumper traffic on Catherine Street between Rivonia Road and Greyston Drive.
A top story in EWN, the city of Ekurhuleni is urging Edenvale residents to steer clear of the building of an auto space shop which caught fire earlier today.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays
12 to 1.
Was Rachel Kutumela, the police officer, was she the kind of kingpin?
She's the prime figure in all this, but we do believe that they were working together because some of those killed were family members. Some of them were taking out the policies. After the policy pays out, they would send the majority of the payout to Rachel. She would then distribute it to others. So quite an unfortunate incident.
Brigadier Atlende Mate.
The Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
Mzansi, it's raining millions with Powerball and Powerball Plus at 124 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Tuesday. Don't delay. Make it rain lots of cash this March by playing Powerball for 84 million rand and Powerball Plus for 40 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app or cell phone banking. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Itube is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Meet Tato Mahate, CMO of Koitek, proving that South African tech can take on the world. Tato, why was Telkom Business the right call for your team?
Bottom line was connectivity and ensuring that we have the right service provider.
With Telkom Business Fiber, Koitek seamlessly connects local innovations with international manufacturing.
Get Stream Connect Fiber from just 399 Rand per month. Call 10213 or check telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. These are words that I often get mad when somebody uses incorrectly. The first one is when people think they're American, and instead of saying I thought something had happened, they'll say who would have thunk instead of who would have thought. That drives me completely insane. And the other thing is when somebody talks about jewelry and they talk about jewelry. It's in my opinion, it's jewelry, but perhaps I'm wrong. Could you please tell me what's correct?
Hey, Mr. John, I used to struggle with the word compartmental. Okay, I guess I still struggle. Hector in Midrand.
Hi, Baba John. It's Baba here from Vanderbilt Park. You know, the word that I'm not sure how it's supposed to be said. It's either schedule or schedule. So I'm not sure whether we have to say schedule or schedule. Can you please assist me with that one? Thanks, Baba John. Have a great show. Further, thank you. Bye.
Hello, everyone in 702 land. Just comments. The word committee always gets said at committee, which I think is another word altogether. So I would love for people to start saying committee instead of committee. It is my one little bugbear listening to the news. Thank you.
I meant to say the word suspect is spelt the same, but it can be pronounced for two totally different meanings. Suspect and suspect. So if I suspect you of doing wrongdoing, it's different to being a suspect. And then the other one I find gets mispronounced a lot is determine, which people pronounce as determine.
So on the question of schedule or schedule, I think I use them interchangeably. I mean, I'm suddenly quite self-conscious about the way I use words. I'd like to schedule. I think I use schedule, actually. And according to AI, and we've just heard about the problems of relying on that. But anyway, both schedule and schedule are correct pronunciations of the same word. The difference is primarily regional. Schedule is standard in American English, while schedule is standard in British English. Both are widely understood. And I guess that's one of the most important points is actually, do people know what you're talking about? Even if you yourself are not always entirely sure. But at least they get the meaning of the word, if not the gist of what you're trying to say. 18 minutes to 6, sports time.
EWN Sport.
Tola Kelly, looking forward to lots of really big football both here and over in Europe. What have you got?
Well, John, there's no room for error for Mamelodi Sundowns this evening as they travel to Orbit College in the Bedway Premiership. The Brazilians are looking for 3 points that will move them clear of Orlando Pirates at the top of the standings. Tsiggins Abaleng has warned against underestimating their opponents, who are fighting to avoid the drop and sit in 15th position.
The teams come in prepared when they play Mamelodi Sundowns. It's always a tough one. I predict we're going to have most of the ball, try to break them down like any other game. It's going to be very difficult because, like you said, they're fighting for their status. So they're going to do as much as they can to make sure that they get a point or 3 in that regard. So we'll have to see how it goes, but I'm pretty confident in the guys. We are in good form at the moment. We've won a couple of games in a row, so we just need to keep going.
The UEFA Champions League returns this evening with 4 games as the first leg of last 16 ties takes centre stage. Newcastle United's ambition will be tested when they take on Barcelona, who beat the Magpies 2-1 during the league phase of the competition earlier this campaign. For the Catalans, they're favourites for this tie, but Hansi Flick has warned against complacency, with Newcastle having scored and conceded in each of their last 12 games across all competitions.
Everyone plays now in this stage want to show the best. I expect the team, the fans will pushing them and they will press us very high in a 1-against-1 situation. We have to play brave out, with confidence out. I think it will be not easy, but we have to find solutions about that. It's a team with transition. They have very fast players, very good players, outstanding players, and with this we have to handle and manage it.
Atalanta will be looking to make it back-to-back wins over German teams when they take on Bayern Munich. The Italians beat Borussia Dortmund in the playoffs to reach this stage of the competition, and for that reason, Vincent Kompany has warned the Bavarians about the possibility of a slip-up.
We are used to be favourites in most games, so if people say we are favourites, we don't have a problem to accept this role. But it doesn't mean that in football this decides the result. We play against a very strong team, like I said. Anybody who follows football in the last years know that Atalanta can win from anyone. You know, they beat Juventus 3-0, I think, this season. They're in the semi-final. They're in the semi-final of the Italian Cup. Everybody knows that it's a team who can do something special.
And 2019 US Open champion Gary Woodland has revealed that he felt like he was living a lie. That's while concealing his post-traumatic stress disorder following life-saving brain surgery. He underwent an operation in 2023 to remove the tumor and returned to the tour in 2024, but was diagnosed with PTSD a year ago. He received the tour's Courage Award in recognition of his return to the sport following his surgery, but admits it hasn't been smooth sailing.
The tour and everyone's just been amazing. Every week I come out, everyone's so excited and happy that I'm back. And, I hear that every week. It's so nice to see you pass this. It's so nice to see you 100%. And I appreciate that love and support, but inside I feel like I'm dying. I feel like I'm living a lie. I don't want to waste energy on that anymore. I want to focus my energy on me and my recovery, my dreams out here, my family. I don't want to waste energy hiding this.
Tholakele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
At 5:45, EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS the word out to 45142 now. And you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Karabo Charlie, Eastland, Pretoria, trouble.
Yeah, no, you can expect about a 20-minute delay. This is traveling from the Linwood area through Eastland heading towards Montana. This is on the N1 northbound from Linwood Road all the way to the N4. Also in Montana, there's slow-moving traffic on Sefako Mahato Drive between Enkeldoorn and the N1. Bryanston, expect about a 20-minute delay. On Grosvenor Road between Bryanston Drive and Leslie. Santon, bumper-to-bumper traffic on Catherine Street between Rivonia Road and Greyston. Still in Santon heading towards Midrand, expect about a 20-minute delay. On the M1 northbound from Ethel Oaklands to the Patru Exchange, leaving Germiston, heading towards Brakpan. Roadworks causing about a 20-minute delay on the N17 eastbound from Osborne to Rondebolt and in Kempton Park. There's slow-moving traffic on Zierfontein Road between Green Avenue and Modderfontein Road. For the latest traffic updates, you can also follow us on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a work commuter. She's done this route 1,000 times. Perhaps she's daydreaming of a different job or just counting down to the weekend. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just another car in traffic. It's anticipation on the move. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance Pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Stay with 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
12 minutes to 6 on 702 Drive. Someone asking why the sports presenters and news presenters are not shown live on our YouTube feed. Shelia asking this, which is how you can watch the show if you'd like to, and we hope you will join us in that way. At the moment, the sports presenters and news readers actually read on 702 shows at least from different studios. Although Tola Kele does come in when we chat about various things, but at the moment, that's where they read from. So we don't have cameras there yet. We're not screening them out. There's no AI involved pretending that they're not real people. It's just they're doing it from another part of the building. It's 12 minutes to 6.
John is on X.
At John Perlman.
So, time for some music. Now, this caught my eye 16 years ago. The group Pink Floyd went to court in a battle with their recording company EMI. What had happened was that the record company, amongst other things, was selling ringtones on the internet from the group's albums. Now, Pink Floyd has a massively successful back catalogue. At that time, they were second only in terms of sales to the Beatles, but they said, no, we're not going to be on people's phones. And by the way, also in that court case, they didn't want EMI to allow people to download specific single tracks from the many successful albums that Pink Floyd produced. So park the single tracks to one side. Let's talk about ringtones. Have you ever, or do you now have a favorite song as your ringtone? And maybe there's a little story behind that. So tell us the song, and if there's a story you want to share, please share that as well. And if you don't have one, but you think, oh, what song would I really like to have as my ringtone? Tell us what that is. And again, the same number for both, 072 702 and 011 883 0702. I do not have a song as a ringtone, but my colleague who's working on the show with us this week, Tadiso Twala, does. Tadiso, very good afternoon to you. Ringtones music. What have you got to share?
Hi, John, and hello to the listeners. So with me, now I don't have.
Okay.
In fact, now my phone is always on vibrate because I don't
Yes.
even want that phone ringtone to ring. It's too loud. So back in the days, I used to be a fan of having music as my ringtone. I think I've had Nkalagata. I've had any favorite song of mine would be my ringtone, you know, from your Tony Braxton, Spanish guitar. But my absolute favorite was the Waka Waka song. What is it? The 2010
Yes, Shakira.
theme song, Shakira.
With Freshly Ground.
That was
yeah.
like a banger for me because every time we ring, I'm like, eh. So I think that was my best ringtone. And I would have different ringtones then. But
Yes.
now, my phone is now always on vibrates.
A
I don't play that
ringtone
bad.
free zone. I mean, we had a conversation a while back, actually, where I think I'm the only person on the team and probably beyond that actually has a phone that rings at all. Everybody else has a phone that vibrates. But let's take a listen. We go back to 2010 when we had a World Cup and Tadiso Twala had a ringtone.
You're a good soldier, choosing your battle. Pick yourself up and dust yourself off and back in the saddle. You're on the front line, everyone's watching. You know it's serious, we're getting closer, this isn't over. The pressure's on, you feel it, but you got it all, believe it. When you fall, get up, oh, oh, and if you fall, get up, eh, eh. Samina, mina, sangalewa, 'cause this is Africa. Samina, mina, eh, eh, waka, waka, eh, eh. Samina, mina, sangalewa, this time for Africa.
Okay, so songs that you've either had as ringtones or you think would make a good ringtone. And even if you've decided that you're not going to have any kind of ringtone at all, live a little. Just tell us, if you were to have a ringtone, what song would you pick? That was Shakira, Freshly Ground with Waka Waka. Give us a call on 072 702 1702 or a ring if you want to chat on 011 883 0702.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has confirmed that 550 soldiers have been deployed to Gauteng to aid police in the fight against crime.
President Cyril Ramaphosa sent a letter to National Assembly Speaker Togo Didiza. Ramaphosa says more than 80 million rand will be spent for the deployment in Gauteng, but the SANDF members are only positioned strategically in provinces including Gauteng, Western Cape, Northwest and Free State, where the incidents are more rife.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
Think fast. Fast downloads, fast streaming, fast wins. Because whether you're chasing high scores, deadlines, or the next episode, buffering is not part of the plan. That's why your home needs the power of OpenServe Fiber. Fast, reliable Wi-Fi that keeps up with your life. And when you sign up before the end of March, you'll score a free Netflix voucher. Level up your home connection with OpenServe Fiber and feel the difference speed makes. Visit openserve.co.za today. T's and C's apply.
Imagine a holiday where the only thing on the to-do list is to enjoy yourself. With NCL, world-class dining, award-winning entertainment, and a variety of onboard experiences come as standard. So enjoying yourself is easy breezy. We sail to over 400 destinations worldwide, including Europe, the Caribbean, and beyond. Your dream cruise is calling. Visit ncl.com for the best deals or contact your travel agent today. Conditions apply. Norwegian Cruise Line. It's different out here.
702 Afternoons
with Relebohile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
What are some of the outputs or rather conclusions that you came out with from this invisible CV experiment?
It was funny watching all the reactions after the recruiters realized that both CVs were from the same person. I think recruiters really responded quite positively to the human qualities that were highlighted and emphasized in the CVs, more than the technical abilities. And if you think again about the workplace and the organizations of today, given the noise that is happening in the world right now, it is really those soft skills that are building workplaces and making sure that the people and the employees that actually make the workplace are quite resilient.
Kawekazi Mdikane, Momentum's Executive Head of Brand.
702 Afternoons
with Relebohile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive with John Perlman was proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Good afternoon, John. Good afternoon, 702. This is David from Pretoria. I'm using Golden Dust by a group called Allison. They make synthwave music, one of my favorite genres, and the group itself is a very nice group of people. They don't mind their music being used anywhere. But always better to ask, which I did, and they said yes, go ahead. So I'm happy with it. Take care.
Golden Dust by Allison. David's ringtone shared with all of you. You don't have to call him now. You can just, go and Google it for yourself. This one from Pumlani, who says, I used to have Love Still by Liquid Deep as my ringtone. Let's remind you of what it sounded like.
through the rain. Darling, I will be right there. Just believe, let them say what they have to say. Baby girl, I really don't care.
Here, a couple of others that people are talking about. Tandanani, my favorite ringtone of all time is Hello by the Isley Brothers. After years of having it and working in an open plan office, it drove my colleagues insane. I still don't know why, though. Tandanani, it sounds like a lot of time to find out if you played it all those times. Anyway, a ringtone loved but now gone.
Hi, John. Lucretia here. I have had the same ringtone for probably the last 10, 15 years. It's Rammstein's Du Hast. And the only reason I have that ringtone is because I can hear it in a loud place. Even if, we're at a shopping mall or something, when my phone rings, I hear it because it's a loud song.
Du hast mich.
Lucretia, I'm glad I've never ended up in a lift with you. That is intense, man, for a ringtone. Julian is calling from Centurion. Hi, Julian.
I feel it in my fingers. I feel it in my... Love is all around by Wet, Wet, Wet.
Okay. Who did the original? I'm trying to remember.
I'm not too sure. I think it was a very old band.
I'll check. Long before ringtones. Love is all around. Let's hear it. Thank you.
I feel it in my toe. Love is all around me, and so the feeling grows.
Yeah, the original was actually by the Trogs. I mean, how do you deal with it if you really like a song? Do you just not answer when people are trying to get hold of you? Anyway, that's all we've got time for. Thank you so much for your songs as ringtones and all your other calls and inputs to 702 Drive. From all of us, good night.
And now, The Money Show.
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
And DSTV channel 856.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by Absa Corporate and Investment Banking, proud sponsors of GTR Africa 2026, enabling trade flows for growth. Absa is a registered FSP. Good evening. On your Money Show tonight, oil prices drop below $90 and markets recover as Trump signals his war in Iran may end soon. Our Deputy Reserve Bank Governor, Fundi Chazibana, on the risks to markets, but also the bigger risk posed by climate change. Absa's